Hello there. Welcome to another DCU Daily. More Superman talk, of course, today, because, it's Superman week, guys. Of course, we're going to talk more Superman. As we promised, Brigit is going to give her review today of her thoughts on the Superman film. Oop. Little bit spoilery right there, but that's okay. But we are here to talk all the Superman news, but not just Superman news, because the upcoming superhero film, not just Superman, but also Fantastic Four: First Steps. Despite the very dumb title, we are going to be talking about that quite a bit as well, as well as a bunch of quick hits. We're going to be talking Batman. Going to be talking tons of amazing things like Chris Pratt is coming back as everyone's favorite orange tabby cat. So, we'll get into that. We'll get into all sorts of things. But after this wonderful little message about how blessed we are from God himself.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka.
Yes, the wonderfulness of Superman is going to be brought in, but we're going to be getting into all sorts of stuff, but not just, obviously the spoiler free review. Don't worry, it is still spoiler free. We are not going to be getting into spoilers until either later in the week or early next week, depending on what people thought of the poll, because there is a poll on the channel right now where whatever you guys prefer, we can either do the spoiler review on Friday or on Monday, whatever you want. So feel free to check that out either right now or after the show. But I do have to bring in Brigit, but she seems to be a little bit off camera right now, so we will bring her in later. But we are going to be getting into Fantastic Four stuff. There's a lot of Fantastic Four things to talk about, not just quick hits, but good news stuff. We talk about Wednesday season 2. That trailer finally dropped, and of course, boom, Brigit right there. Brigit, how are you doing on this wonderful day? Oh, you are muted. There you go.
I'm doing great, John.
Also,
sorry for all the technical difficulties in my.
That's okay.
Here.
That's okay. It's fine. I'm. You know how I am. I'm not great as host, but a little birdie told me about a little something special that you were actually on a certain game show recently. That why don't you talk about that for the lovely people for a little bit, because I'm really curious about that.
Yeah. I was on The Price is Right recently. For those of you who might know, I live in the LA area, which gives me the prime opportunity to try and get on some game shows here. So I went on The Price is Right back in February. So it just aired this week, and it was a really fun experience, and I got to meet Drew Carey. I got called up, and honestly, when they called my name, I too was in shock. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they picked me. Didn't win anything because I'm not that lucky, but I still had a really fun time.
It's fine. You're lucky. You know who is lucky? The people watching, because they get to experience the loveliness that is Brigit. So I think that's all that matters. But I am curious, you did say multiple game shows. Were you ever on another game show, or?
I was actually. Last year I was on Let's Make a Deal, and I actually did win on that show. So it was really fun. It's I always joke that game shows are like an actor's charity, because it's kind of like the only thing we have for us going out here. So I went on an actor's charity last year, and actually I won. So that was really exciting.
That is really awesome. Like, that's
yeah,
really
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any other plans to be on any other game shows? Like, you gonna be on like Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, any
Oh,
of the other ones? The
mm,
Wall. I don't know. I don't really. I'm not well versed in game shows. The only ones I know of are like Jeopardy, the really old ones that are
yeah.
still on. I don't
Honestly,
know any
probably
of the newer ones.
I could probably only do the old ones because all the new ones, I'm like, I don't understand the rules.
Is
Maybe
Deal or
Wheel of
No Deal still
Fortune.
on? Is that still on? I don't even know.
Hmm, I don't know. Um, there's like
Hmm.
that supermarket store one I've seen. That one seems kind
Yeah,
of confusing,
yeah.
but
It is true, Caleb. It's not about winning. It's about the friends we've made along the way.
that's true.
Speaking of friends, why don't we talk about the world's greatest friend that we have, a superhero friend that is Superman? Because the people want to know your thoughts, Bridget, because we obviously talked about stuff yesterday, but since you were a lot later than us, since you live on the West Coast, and that was way later, and it was probably like 4 in the morning here when you were all done, we wanted to know your thoughts on, the thing we've been talking about for the past year and a
Oh
half.
no.
So,
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
yeah. I know. I know we've seen your reviews too later. I know you guys maybe had a few criticisms. But I don't know. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I really did. And especially in the theater that I was in, a lot of fans showed up. People were
Of
clapping
course,
all
yeah.
throughout the movie. And yeah, I just felt like everyone was really, really excited for this. And the energy was palpable. So that was really, I think that really kind of contributed to the experience as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
But and maybe it's too, maybe I was just so excited to see this, but I thought overall that it was really enjoyable. I really liked this film.
Obviously, we're not going to be getting into spoilers because many people haven't seen it. Many
Right,
people are not as lucky as us to see Prime days, premieres, all that
right.
kind of thing. So, oh, thanks, Caleb. I appreciate that. But yes, thanks, Enterprise. But I think what so the main thing I want to ask, like, did anything like really pop out at you in terms of like something you really really enjoyed? Again, not getting into spoiler territory, but like any
Yeah,
actors or characters or action sequences or anything,
yeah,
or score or like any camera shots that were like, whoa, that was really cool.
yeah. I mean, obviously some of my favorite parts are Crypto. He's just so I love the way that they incorporated him in this, and I think it was kind of clever and relatable. So I don't know. I give them, props for that. Um, I also personally I really loved his portrayal of Superman. I think to me, it kind of reminded me a little more of like the Tom Welling in Smallville, and I know they show like
Mm.
his home a bit, and I don't know. To me, that's like I'm like, oh, that's Superman. I know that can be different for other people's
Oh yeah, of
um,
course.
iterations, but I felt like he played really well into um just I don't know, being like a really good at heart kind of person, which I feel like is essential to the character. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but what did you think of like the chemistry between Lois Lane and Super and Clark Kent and like that kind of dynamic? And what were your thoughts on like the whole Justice Gang thing? Because I know there was a lot to talk about there as well. Because I know a lot of people love Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific. So
yeah. Actually, they did fantastic. I thought. I mean, those were probably some of the funniest bits. I would say was, yeah, Nathan Fillion in that role, who's really funny. Just some of his responses, I enjoyed a lot. Um, and sorry, what was the first part of that question?
oh, sorry. Like what
Oh, the
about the chemistry
chemistry.
between no, you're good, you're good. It's fine. We're all
Yeah.
really tired today, so you're
Right.
good.
But
But
you're
Lois
cool.
and Clark, what was like the chemistry between them? Like what were
Yeah,
your thoughts on
I
that?
mean, that might have been one thing. I don't know. I guess maybe it's different for everyone, but to me, they did seem like a great couple, but it did seem maybe it lacked a little bit of like romantic chemistry. Um,
Mm.
just in the end, I don't know. I mean, they had a great kiss, but it almost seemed very like friendly, maybe more than like real like romance or passion. I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
asking
could see
too
that.
much,
I could see
but
that.
yeah, I don't know. It wasn't. Maybe I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. It wasn't fully there, but I think it was
Yeah, I
pretty good.
mean, I think we all kind of agreed that it wasn't like perfect. Obviously, like Well, for me personally, I don't think it was better than original Christopher Reeve film, but I do think it's better than all the Christopher Reeve sequels. Maybe not as good as the Richard Donner cut, at least from what I remember. Maybe I need to rewatch that. But the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, I thought that was better. I do think that this was better than Man of Steel and Superman
Mhm.
Returns, but like I think each movie has like some really good quality that makes it like, it's not just like one thing. Like I feel like, obviously, Nicholas Holt was great as Lex Luthor, but he's not my favorite Lex Luthor. I
Yeah.
think I think Kevin Spacey was probably my favorite. I know he's a horrible human being, but he's playing
Right.
himself, so it works. But I think his Lex Luthor had like the right amount of corniness and menacing. So I
Yeah.
think it's just a shame he's kind of trapped, as well as Brandon Routh, kind of trapped in like a not as good movie. But I think Nicholas Holt, I enjoyed his portrayal, but I can see a lot of people being like kind of upset with it. But I mean, yeah,
I
I
can kind of
think
see that too a little bit actually. Now that you
I can yeah.
that was maybe the one thing. Yeah, and you know what too, also I'm glad, Fiona, that I'm not the only one that felt that way, about the chemistry, but this was, like, towards the end, I think I was not I kind of was like, "Oh, this hmm, I don't know." The ending for me with Lex Luthor felt maybe a little bit off, I don't know, it just I didn't know how I felt about it, to be honest.
Maybe
Maybe
you need
you
like
feel
another day to like think about it. I have
yeah,
a day or two to think about some other things that I didn't like absolutely love about the movie. So, I'm curious like, oh, do I need just some time to think about it and that kind
yeah.
of thing. So, I
Maybe
think there is a lot of attributes that like, okay, let
yeah,
me sit on this a little bit more.
yeah.
I think now that I have sat on it a bit, it is I think a lot of moments are kind of forgettable. Like, I'm struggling to remember a lot of moments that happen in the movie. Like, there's
Mhm,
a lot of really good moments, like, like the third act was great. I think a lot of the action sequences were great. I think
mhm,
I liked personally like Superman and Lois's like relationship and all that. But I feel like there are a lot of moments in the first half of the movie that are like I'm struggling to remember. And I don't know if that's just like the high is gone or that's an actual problem with the movie, but I think that that is something to note as well.
mhm.
Obviously we're going to have to wait. Like I'm going to be seeing it again on Friday. So I'm just curious like is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse?
Yeah.
How are we going to do this? But even then like I still think yes, I have heard that John Shea from Lois and Clark is a very underrated Lex. I have
Mm,
heard about that. Yes. I don't think I think it's a genuinely great movie. I think I'm just curious how I'm going to handle it the second time.
mhm.
If it is like if like oh the high of like seeing it early and seeing it with such a big audience with so many Superman fans, or will it stand like it says, or is it just kind of like we haven't gotten a truly great Superman film on screen in so long that like anything will seem good, kind of like the Phantom
Yeah,
Menace like reaction where it's like, well, we haven't gotten a Star Wars movie in 17 years, so
let's just
let's
be
just
happy that
celebrate the hell
it's
out of this
here.
one. And then like looking back, it's like, oh, that movie was not very good. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious if it's just like the high of it all, or because I don't want to like obviously I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this is terrible or anything like that. I'm not, I'm just like I'm trying to be unbiased because I
right,
don't want to, you know, I don't want to just be like, "Oh, I'm just glazing it for the hell of it because blah blah
because I'm
blah."
so excited, yeah.
But I think there are a lot of really good elements. It's just like I think the editing and pacing should have been a lot better. And I think that's I think the biggest deterrence that I can talk about right now. Obviously there's more I can talk about, but it would have to be in spoiler territory. But
Mhm,
I do think there are so many great elements to this movie, so many great elements, but I think like maybe like but the thing is, as I said yesterday, I can see why people might not like this movie because when people say it's a mess, I'm like, I can kind of see that. I can kind of feel like,
A
you
little,
know,
yes. There's a lot that goes on. You're right.
yes.
And
So I'm just curious with how, obviously you're more of like what is called a normie, no offense, but you don't read like a ton of I mean,
no,
we were like Fiona kind of
no
brought
offense
in
to the kid.
those
Yeah.
kind of
It's
brought in those
good.
thoughts yesterday, but like you're not like, me and Dan are like super comic book nerds.
Right.
Liz doesn't really know like specifically comic stuff. So I'm just curious to know people's like general audiences who like, oh, I know Superman, I remember Christopher Reeve, but who doesn't know like who Guy Gardner or Green Lantern is or who Hawk Girl is. So
Right.
it's like, does that stick the landing, or is it like, oh no, that these are just characters that are here because reasons? So that's kind of the thing that I'm curious about. Not like mad if people don't like or love the fact that I like or anything like that. Just like I'm really curious what the general audience is. And I mean, from the audience reaction so far is pretty positive. Like it does. I know Rotten Tomatoes is bullshit. I don't believe in Rotten Tomatoes, especially with how high these numbers are.
Mhm.
I mean, the critic score did go down a little bit, so I'm curious if like the 96%, stays high or if it like goes down. But I am
Yeah.
just really curious because, that's the thing because it's like I've seen a lot of big super fans say it's really, really good. Others have said it's not good. Mainly positive, as I think Enterprising mentioned. But there's also, I'm just curious about general audiences. That's why I want to, pick the brain of other people. But Dan is kind of giving us a message. How does it to relate to other superhero movies you've seen? So, how many other? So, have you seen like other superhero movies that have
Oh,
come out this year or
um,
anything like that? And how does it
not like
relate to those if you have?
recent. Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time before in that era, when Thor came out and Avengers and Spider-Man, and I would watch all of those ones. But as of late, I have not really been keeping up. I mean, I've just kind of watched stuff that we've watched here on the show, so I haven't watched
Hmm.
any feature films.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I mean, ever? I mean, obviously, maybe that's two. Maybe, and I won't lie. I mean, maybe there's a part I haven't seen
Hmm.
some of the more recent superhero movies. So to me, it's like, wow, this action looks amazing. Like, obviously, CGI is improved, and just those technical elements have gotten better than they used to be 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So it could be that too. That I'm like, wow, like this looks great to me. But of course, that can just also be any movie
Right.
that's kind of coming out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like to me, well, you know what? I did see Deadpool and Wolverine. Is that a superhero movie? I think so.
Yes, that counts.
Um, you know what? I think I liked this better. I didn't like that movie
Okay.
that much. Yeah, so I thought that movie was a little bit messier, I would say, than this one.
Yeah, from what I've heard, I've heard that like a lot of people are like, oh, I mean, it's kind of just a cameo fest. So, where
Right.
it's just like, oh, hey, here's Wesley Snipes as Blade. Oh, here's Chris Evans as Human
Yeah,
Torch. Oh, here's,
everyone just wants to make a joke.
Channing Tatum as Gambit. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, we were talking about the messiness of it before. Was it still like relatively easy to follow, or were you like so confused by the last act?
No,
You're like, I have no idea what's going on.
I mean, there were definitely I guess I don't know if I should spoil this, but there's a character in there, some characters that I didn't know the reference of. Obviously, I could tell they were from the comics, but I just didn't really know them. And when they said their name, I definitely forgot it. But even then, I could still follow along. I didn't know the backstory, the history of his relationship in the universe, but it's still easy enough, I think, for people that, again, don't have knowledge again, as like even of hot girl or guy Gardner or Mr. Terrific, they do introduce themselves, and I feel like they it's easy enough to understand. Like if you really knew nothing about Superman, you could still, I think, get the gist of what's going on, even if you don't have the richer history of. I mean, there's not too many like asides back to stuff that you wouldn't. There's not too many like niche references, I would say.
Oh, yeah, I think that's that, but I know like yeah, I'm just like as I've said, like I'm just curious what other people's thoughts are in regards to like character like characters they don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, that was kind of like a main thing of like I'm glad this actually feels like the Superman character, but I just wish like some things were like embellished a little bit more, like they were like kind of like written out a little bit better, like some of the like his like the mission and like what he feels he's doing.
That's a good
And
point. Yeah.
yeah, I just wish I as I said yesterday, I just feel like that this could have done with like another like 15 minutes, but I feel like if they added those extra 15 minutes, it would have been more 2.5 hours. And I feel like they wanted to avoid that. And this was like kind of good enough where you can like gather everything. So because again, this is like made for all ages, it's made for kids.
Yeah.
So they don't want it to be like 3 hours long, but I feel like that James Gunn probably wanted to make a longer movie, but couldn't. And I don't think we're gonna have the repeat of like, oh well, we have this movie, but then we have the extended version
The
because I feel like
uncut.
that would
Yeah.
be not great considering like, oh, you didn't release your version even though you're the co-CEO of
Director.
it. So I don't
Yeah.
think they're gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, just
I think you're right. I think even thinking a little bit more even too about the conflict that was kind of central to this, and even like
yes.
his arc and his conflict
Mhm.
didn't seem like they obviously brought it up, but I feel like they could have gone deeper. I feel like it was just a kind of easily resolved thing maybe by the end.
Yeah. Um, but I still think it stuck the landing, the superhero landing, even though it is bad on the knees. Um, but I do think but yeah, I'm always curious to, as I was saying, I'm always curious to know like people's thoughts that are like, I know every bout of Superman history and all that,
Yeah.
and I've seen every other version, or I know of every other version. So I'm just curious, like I'm really curious how my parents are gonna react because they're like, they know Christopher Reeve, and that's kind of it. Like they watched George Reeves and
Mhm.
Christopher Reeve, and that's kind of it. They don't know like Dean Kane, like they know they existed, like Dean Kane, Tom Welling. I think they watched Brandon Routh, but like kind of forgot it. They watched Man of Steel, but they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we were talking about that before, Dan. Like, I think like I'm having a bit of a rough time like remembering that first half. But I don't think it's like forgettable. I think it was just like there was a lot going on. I want to see if like it is truly forgettable or if it's just like it's just me. Like I don't know if it's like
Yeah.
just me, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, for me at least, I don't think that I'm gonna forget this movie. There were definitely parts of the story that I feel like, kind of hit home and I enjoyed.
Hmm.
And again, part of his character that I feel like we don't see a lot of characters like this in other kinds of media. I think someone who is so hopeful. Um,
Yes.
I feel like the closest thing, this is totally out there, but like with that kind of spirit to like not even that close, but like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, where she's just like super hopeful and like bright eyed
Yeah.
and almost like as if you took a drop out of that kind of spirit. But I feel like
Hmm.
most things are about the gritty, awful parts of the world. So I found it a little bit, it was just an uplifting movie to watch, and I won't
Yeah.
forget that.
Um, I think like it might because but it might be because it had too much going on. I think
Yeah,
that it did have a lot. I think I don't think it confirmed like the biases of like, oh, this is too complicated, too much, blah blah blah. I think it just I think some things could have been like cut out, but and other things should have been. But like I don't mind. Like a lot of people are like, oh, they have the Justice Gang, they have the Daily Planet bullpen, they have this thing, they have, but I think like 95% of the characters got what they got. Um, to the right amount. Like as I said yesterday, Jimmy Olsen, he was the goat of the movie. He for me, like it wasn't like just me being like realizing over the course of many years that Jimmy Olsen wasn't just this stupid character that was just there because they needed comic relief. Maybe initially he was, but like as time went on, he became his own character and he was like just genuinely great. And but I think it was no, I don't think it was a WB mandate, because the thing is, this is not it's not a mandate, because it's like James Gunn owns the fucking studio. Like he owns well, not owns, but he runs DC Studios. So the only other person is David Zaslav, and I don't think David Zaslav is looking at this like cut 10 minutes out of this. I don't think he's saying that. I think like just James Gunn saw it and he thinks, you know what? I think I can, cut certain things out, but I just think it could have been cut a little bit better. Um, but I yeah. Um, but it was too short. They can probably add in an extra showing time a day. Maybe an extended version gets released. I don't think so. I think that'll bring up bad memories of like, oh, Zack Snyder needs to re-release like every one of his movies because he can't release, his
What he wanted to.
when he wanted to. More of the Daily Pan, maybe with the Justice getting more of the Lex Trio, again, not needed, but the characters were also good. You do want more. That's also a thing I was curious of. I'm like, is it just that everything was so good that we want to see more, or is it like it was just literally not enough to like satiate the story you were trying to tell? So we need more, as in like there should have been like 15 more minutes added to the movie. So that's yeah,
I
that
agree
also
with
could have
that.
been it kind of suffers from a little bit of Batman Begins syndrome, where it's like there's just so much going on in that, and it's like giving you an onslaught of information and story that it's just like, guys, you need to stop. I need to fucking take a break. I think there were a couple moments, but it was like not quite enough, but it was definitely like full steam ahead. Once it hits go, it fucking goes, and it's just kind of that ramping up
Yeah.
sort of thing.
I
Um,
agree. And like even with the Justice League, I feel like we get Guy Gardner, we get Mr. Terrific. Maybe like if one person that maybe as like a normie watching this would think is like, okay, like who is this hot girl? She does seem a little bit random. Like there's no really like explanation of who she is or more than that. Like she just has a couple, quips here and there, but I felt like she could seem kind of random to somebody who doesn't
yeah.
really follow.
Also, hello, Eugene. If y'all watch it in IMAX, we didn't. I watch it in Dolby. I don't know if there's like a major difference, but I think it's wider. Did the expanded aspect ratio scenes add to the film? Um, was yours was in IMAX, right?
I think so, but I should check because
I think it
I'm not
was.
positive.
Um, but
I was pretty close to my screen too, but I actually liked that. I feel like it did make like yes, and you could feel like the vibrations and all the rumbling, and I think that added to it. That was pretty fun. I won't lie.
yeah. Um, but I do think
Yes, it was IMAX.
yes. Also, hello, Dan. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Nice. You can definitely see that shirt from space. Hello.
Sorry,
But
sorry.
yes. So
Good question by Eugene though. I watched it in RPX, which is an IMAX. It is a big screen premium format, but I've seen a few reviews from people who have seen it in IMAX. None of them really said that the expanded aspect ratio scenes added anything. I mean, nobody as far as I'm aware, or from what I've read and watched and heard, nobody pointed out that it added anything special to the movie. But like it's not noticeable, which I guess is the point. Like it would be a problem potentially if it was noticeable. I don't know, for the wrong reasons, but
Yeah.
anywho. Oh, was that a jump scare for you, Caleb? Is that what it's about? Well, honka to you too. Anyway, sorry, I'm kind of barging into the conversation.
no, you're good.
Where Where are we at, guys? I mean, 84. Is that the latest score? The tomato meter is
Yes,
that
84. The critic score went down a little bit, and I think the popcorn meter. I think initially started at like 97%. I
yeah.
think that's what the initial one was. Hang on, I got a lot of tabs open. But
But
it was 95, so it went up.
yeah,
Sorry, I thought it
Oh,
was at
yeah.
97, but
I
yeah.
did notice
So
that part. So the audience score went up. The critic score has gone down. Did it go to 84 again? Because I know it was at 83 at one point today. So
I
it's
haven't been looking, but I know yesterday it was at 86. That's
do
what we
you
were.
do you mind refreshing that page, the Rotten Tomatoes page? Because it might be,
Mhm.
because I know a bunch of you guys in the chat were talking about that earlier.
There it is. Now
Okay.
it just went
So
down to 83.
we have crossed the 200 review mark. I know yesterday when we finished the stream, we were still looking at around
It was like
150.
147. So
Yeah.
about 14 more people gave it rotten reviews, and then about I think 22 people gave it positive reviews. So it's still getting more positive. But so and here's the thing: the all audience score, not just the verified audience, the all audience score, which is 5,000 ratings as opposed to over 1,000 ratings, is
Yeah.
90, which is still very high. It's
It is
still
very high.
that's A minus, so that's pretty damn good.
What's worth pointing out, just again, every time we talk about that particular the all audience score, you got to qualify that statement by saying that, hey, the verified audience, we know for sure they bought a ticket to the movie. The unverified ones, they're the ones who, I mean, for all we know, they did, but like Fandango hasn't verified that with an actual like transaction that where they bought the ticket, like through whichever theater they would have gone to. So, but anyway, yeah, that's still a pretty high number. I mean, considering so certainly there's no review bombing going on, which is good. I mean, we would have probably heard about it by now if it was happening, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Brigit, I know you've sort of talked about it already, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it, because like between yesterday and today, John and I feel like a few other people have talked about this as well. Even the really positive reviews I mentioned, the fact that this movie felt like at times it dragged a little bit. Like maybe like, did you find yourself looking at your watch or look down on your phone or like looking around and seeing what other people are doing? Or were you invested in it the whole time? Do you feel like it rushed by you, or were
yeah.
you bored at any point in time?
I don't recall feeling that way personally. I think I was pretty invested in it. Um, the only time I was looking down at my phone was when I was trying to send my little before movie review. I was like, oh, gotta get this in. But no, I feel like I was pretty much able to follow. Maybe there was a moment where I thought like, okay, the end is near. I can sense that. Um I guess
You made that sound like the apocalypse. Oh no, the end is near.
the end is near.
I'm sorry. It's just
It's all right. I think especially towards the end where there
yeah.
is, more fighting and war going on, that maybe at that point I was like maybe getting kind of tired, but I didn't really no, I wasn't, but I do also feel like this is maybe a stupid thing, but I was sitting pretty close, like pretty close to the screen because it was like one of the only tickets I could get. And I feel
Mhm.
like maybe if I was sitting further back, maybe, but I feel like when it's right in your face, it's kind of hard to like look anywhere else because it's like I don't know, it really captures your attention. I wonder if that could be it too.
Yeah.
Because I felt that way
Mhm.
a lot before in other movies, but I wasn't feeling that way too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at it here. The Watcher saw Superman twice now,
Mhm.
um, and he just wants to go back and watch the animated stuff again, because this a lot of
Oh,
people have said this movie feels like the DC animated universe movies and TV shows brought to live action.
yeah.
Even
It
though
was
like we don't
very
have Brainiac in this movie, maybe we can get that character down the road. What were you gonna say, Bridget? Sorry, I
you
cut you
know,
off there.
this is like a stupid comparison, but thinking about too how like James Gunn, he did the Scooby-Doo movies, and maybe I feel like he is pretty good at bringing animated things to life. I don't know. I feel like he does have a
Yeah.
good knack
Yeah,
at
he
that.
definitely has that vibe, I think, of like someone who just that overall sillier, goofier vibe that like
Yeah,
um
kind of
yeah.
innate to that medium.
What? So Eugene is saying I can't to finally understand what y'all are talking about tomorrow. Wait, I don't know what
I
you
think
mean.
he can't wait, maybe?
Oh, I can't wait to finally. Oh, okay.
He hasn't seen it yet, so
I
he's
see. Okay, sorry. Just the grammar glossed me a little bit. I apologize, Eugene. But yeah, look, as far as reactions, like tomorrow, everybody who hasn't seen it yet at the early screenings, I mean, not everybody, because like Frankie doesn't see it until later in the week, but a lot of you guys, like Eugene yourself, will go see the movie. I can't wait to see, your reactions, because again, the more people have seen it, the more we can, have a larger conversation. Speaking of which, I know John, you mentioned at the top of the show, but the goal, the plan has been or had been, and quite frankly still is, to do a open spoiler conversation on Friday. And if we do that, then we can bring in Liz and Fiona back into the conversation and talk about the movie in open spoiler fashion. But if you guys feel like that's too early, there is a poll on the channel in the post section, the community section, or the artist formerly known as the community section, now just the post section. You can go there. Under the post for today's show, we have a poll. You can tell us if you want us to do the open spoiler chat on Friday or Monday. If you do it on Monday, the only downside might be Liz and Fiona might not be available, but Friday they will be. So there is a little bit of like a pros and cons of that. So, but with that, yeah, definitely let us know what you think in the poll, and then we'll go off of what you guys say. Currently, we want to do it on Friday, and we would basically just spend probably the entire show, the majority of it, like yesterday, just talking about Superman. And really, John and I both have some things that we want to get off our chest we can't get into until we do the spoiler conversation. So, but Enterprising saying Man of Steel's reviews started great, then dropped like a rocket by the second week. Here's the thing. This movie's review, you could see there, John, right? If you can zoom in a little bit more, there's 203 reviews already out. It's certified fresh. If you just do the math, chances are this is going to get another 100 maybe or so reviews added in from the critics. It can't drop to 57%, which is where Man of Steel sits. So I don't think we'll have that problem. That it will be that it's not going to drop to that number at all. And
there's a whole bunch of factors.
Exactly.
All critics, it's 83%. Top critics,
the vast majority of the people, like regardless of which metrics you look at, still love the movie.
Verified audience 96. All audience is 90, but that could include a lot of like Snyder bots that are trying to review bomb it. So who knows? So yeah, it's like 100% the people that saw it definitely in 96. So yeah,
I really love the watcher's point here though, because look, I for one, I think had a mixed reaction yesterday. I maybe in the whole panel, I didn't have the most negative reaction to the movie, in the sense that I thought overall it was a pretty good movie. I gave it like a 7 out of 10. Fiona was like much lower. She was like 6 out of 10. I think, John, you said 8.5.
No,
right?
I said 9. Liz was 8.5.
You said 9, 8.5. So I was kind of in the middle somewhere. But even then, I would admit that the watcher saying here is true. Talking about, oh, sorry, I meant to bring everybody in the conversation. I think with what the watcher is saying, the one thing that's really good about this film, regardless of whether you loved it, liked it, or just were like meh on it or hated it even, this world, this DCU, the new DCU, really establishes right off the bat with the Superman movie that anything is possible. Like the scene that was that we got the very first image of Superman from, and what's in the background, and we've been speculating for the past year, what is that energy orb in the background? When we get to that scene in the movie, I'm not going to tell you the context. I'm just going to say what's actually going on in there is a great marker for just how open the possibilities are in this movie, in terms of where they might go or want to go with this universe. And then there's like some other things that happen with characters that may or may not show up in the movie. Which really open up the idea of like, this is a bigger world right off the bat than what we were used to in the past.
You're part of a bigger world, Dark.
You're part of a bigger.
Don't know it yet.
And PLO here, hello PLO, saying this movie better make a lot more money given just the positive reception. I mean, not only that, PLO, it's not just about like the Rotten Tomato score being high, both for the audiences and critics. It's also the fact that the fans are showing up. The marketing campaign is still going on. They've spent more money on marketing this movie than they've done any other Superman movie in the past, any other DC movie. And I know, like, Yash, you're talking about like the hype is dying down. Generally speaking, yes, that's somewhat true, because there's more and more people as the week goes on will have seen the movie. So therefore, it's that whole thing of, people saw the movie, not everybody wants to go see it again and again and again. The key here will be how many people go see it again and again and again. With the repeat viewing will help the box office. But with any movie, I know Brigit, John, you guys can probably all agree, with any movie, what usually happens, you're excited, you go see the movie, you talk about it, and then you sit with it, and you're probably then looking at, okay, what do I go see next weekend, right? And really the great movies are the ones where you're like, oh my god, I can't wait to go see that one again. But in general, the hype on average, not the casual fan will probably see this once. Like Brigit, I don't know, like unless we tell you go see this 2 more times for the show, are you gonna go see this movie again, or are you now just waiting for the next one? Like, for example, Fantastic Four comes out in a couple of weeks. Like, just genuinely, what would you like if it were up to you? Would you go see this again? Is this a good enough of a movie that you just want to go and buy the ticket again, or are you just like, I'm gonna go see another movie now because I've seen Superman and I've had my fill? Like, what do you think?
It actually would be. I mean, it would definitely be something that when it comes out on streaming, I would definitely watch it right again. Yeah, I think to get that refresher too. I think it does classify as one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? To be fair, so you said exactly what I was thinking, which is there's gonna be people out there like and when I say people, I mean like again, either fans of the movie who are just casual moviegoers, like who are not big comic book fans, but like just want to go see a good movie. They might just wait for it to come out on streaming, like you said you would do. And there might also be other folks who just didn't have as good of a react. Like Yash, for example, didn't like the movie as much, and Yash is probably not going to go see it again until maybe when it comes out on streaming. So like what you said, I mean, the Watcher on the other hand gave it a 10 out of 10. He's already seen it twice, so like he's probably going to go see it again, or at least more, maybe 2 or 3 more times. Nostalgia Critic mostly liked it, so I'm sure he's going to see it again. Sorry, go ahead, Liz.
I was going to say, I definitely,
Liz, Brigit.
I do think it is. That's okay. I do think this is something that people should at least the first time see in theaters. Definitely, if you can do that. I mean, I even told my mom, I was like, oh, you should take my sister. I think she'd really enjoy this. Even my dermatologist was asking, and I was like, yeah, it was good. It was good. So I'm saying that I'm recommending it to people. I think there is. And two, like there's so many elements that really you have to see it on a big screen to really enjoy. I think after that, then you could either see it again or stream. But I think the first time, I highly recommend being in the theater.
Yeah, that's fair. Completely fair. John, I know we've been talking about the Rotten Tomatoes score, and we'll get back to that in a second. We also, by the way, we'll talk about what some of the other critics and outlets have been saying, because obviously the Rotten Tomatoes score is out, but because on this show we haven't discussed what exactly are other people, critics saying, what exactly are other fans saying. I know you guys have been telling us what you thought about the movie, but we have got your questions. I've been picking out some questions from the chat like we did yesterday, John and Brigit. Let's just answer some of the questions that the folks are asking us in the chat, and you're welcome to send in more. Again, if there's anything that you feel like you want to talk about, again, no spoiler stuff, so let's make sure we're not getting into spoilers tonight. We're not here to do that. So don't put anything in the spoiler territory in the chat. We will definitely take that out. Might even, if you keep doing it, we might have to ban you for the day. But we do have questions from you guys already. I already see almost a dozen questions here. So let's start answering some of what you guys are asking us. And then, we'll keep the ball rolling with more Superman conversation. We also still have Fantastic Four stuff to talk about. Wednesday season 2, like John mentioned, like there's a bunch of quick hits. And then we have Batman news potentially from James Gunn to get into as well. And then we'll talk about more of the James Gunn box office where, Star Law is here saying is already going to break $1 billion.
I can add
John,
I can add Yash's and his to the list because yeah.
What did Josh say? It's what did Josh? Was that to do with the box office or something else?
Yeah, they're like it's gonna top out at 500 million.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll add that in there. We got King Dingaling in there. That's a great name, by the way. Not the greatest, but definitely make me excited for the future of the DCU. Okay, so what would your rating be, King Dingaling? God, I feel weird saying that name, but it's a great name. Thank you for stopping by, and hope we have earned that like and subscribe from you. So, but yeah, what would you rate it? And let us know that in the chat. Figure Drawing asking Yash, do you think it will make more than 600 million? Which, based on what he said earlier, probably not. Yeah, Caleb. There you go. See, Caleb is the proverbial class clown in the show. All right, Eugene was saying, I just went on the AMC app at Lincoln Square and NYC. Almost all the show times are sold out. They have even 2 a.m. showings this weekend. We're gonna talk about it later in the show, but just to give you guys a bit of a preview, Superman. Literally, these are the numbers. I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating. Pretty much 1/3, or even more, a little bit more than 1/3 of all screenings in North America. All screenings, like anywhere, any movie theater that is playing movies, 1/3 of all showings this weekend will belong to Superman. It's got that much of a market share. So I'm like, yeah. And then the fact that they're also like New York City, of course, is one of the big markets, right? Like LA, Brigit, where you are, New York City, these are the two biggest markets in the country. So it bodes well that they're selling out there. I know that my showing yesterday, the Amazon Prime screening, was pretty much sold out. John's was sold out. Liz's was sold out. Brigit, I don't know, Brigit, if you mentioned if yours were sold out or not, but
I didn't. I mean, I bought my ticket the day that they released it, but already then there was. That's why I had to sit so close. There wasn't that much.
But was it packed in the theaters?
Oh,
like, did you, or was?
And when I went to the TLC Chinese theater, and even when I got there, they had like a barricade, and they were checking everyone to make sure she had a ticket to get in. So it was very like, yeah, people wanted to see it for sure. People wanted to get in.
It's so far, again, it's showing that people are just, showing up and showing out for this movie, which hopefully the sentiment will hold true, because again, I hate to make it seem like everybody on this channel has not liked the movie, because it's not true at all. I think, Brigit, you said you enjoyed the film. Liz was the most glowing about it. John, your review is fluctuating a little bit. Mine, I think, is actually maybe going in the more positive direction the more I sat on it, because I feel like yesterday I was focused more on the negative.
I would still say it's a 9. It had some flaws, but like I would still stick with a 9.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Derpy loved the film as well. And then I asked earlier, what did King Dinglings think score-wise? And he was giving the movie 7.5 out of 10, which Movie Spud thinks it's a pretty good score. It is a pretty good score. That's actually that's definitely way above average. Yash, on the other hand, gave it a 6 out of 10, similar to what Fiona said yesterday as well. Enterprising saying he might go back to his original prediction depending on how it does over the weekend and the reception by Monday. That includes my review as well. Well, Enterprising, I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about everybody's predictions. Well, at least, what were the two things? They were Rotten Tomato score and box office, right, John? So as far as the Rotten Tomato score, I think we're going to go through everybody's predictions and cash those checks on Monday, proverbially speaking. And then as far as the box office goes, we'll have to wait until Superman is out of theaters to really figure out, whether everybody's predictions were true or not. So Figure Drawing was saying, I'll bet you $25 if it makes less than $600 or $600 million. I'll super chat Oh So Curious for $25. If it makes more than 600 million, you have to super chat Oh So Curious 25. Want to bet? Okay. So Figure Drawing, Yash, there's an offer for a bet. And Yash says bet. So there we go. All right, you heard it on the show. This is not documented, that if Superman makes more than $600 million, then Yash has to bet, send in a super chat for $25 on the channel. If it makes less than 600, then Figure Drawing will do that, and Yash has taken on that bet. So,
and they even said, I like your thinking. If I'm wrong, I'll double it to 50.
Okay.
And Figure Drawing says you're on. Virtual handshake, ladies and gents. And there we go. We're off to the races.
And fight. No fight. But, Superman will do the fighting for you, as he does in the movie. We are not talking about spoilers yet, Jalen, but we will talk about it potentially on Friday. That is the plan. There is a poll on the post part of the YouTube channel, so you can go there in what used to be the community section, and you can vote if you want to have the whole spoiler discussion on Friday or do it on Monday. You let us know. If you do it on Friday, we can get Liz and Fiona on the show as well. On Monday, probably not because of availabilities. I mean, still John and I will be here. And we'll see if Brigit is available as well. But I know Fiona and Liz will not be. That's Monday. Friday they can. Look at that. M2G loved the
No,
movie. So
Friday
much
they
fun.
can, Monday they can't. Isn't
That's
that
what
what
I
it
meant.
is?
Right. That's what I said. Right. That's what I said. Sorry if I was confusing. But M2G's already seen the movie and wants to go see it. He's got 3 more screenings set up. That is huge, man. That is
Yeah,
awesome. 3
that's
more screenings. I know there's several people in the chat who told us yesterday, today, who were gonna go see this movie like 4 or 5 times in 1 week. So I know, Brigit, I asked you, and you were like, maybe I'll see it on streaming next
you know,
time. But
yeah.
you could see, right? Like some people might see it 5 times this week. Go ahead. You were saying.
I mean, yeah. If I had the time and I could get a free ticket, yeah, I would go again. I mean, yeah, who wouldn't? Yeah, I mean, I understand that too. It's been a long time coming, and so the excitement to see this in theaters, it's like your love for Top Gun. It's like I get it.
Yeah, true. Don't
Get a
stop
couple.
believing. Enterprising says it's the right kind of movie. I mean, I loved F1, which basically is Top Gun, on a racing track. I want to go see that movie again. I definitely want to go see Superman again. It's a matter of when this week I'll be able to get a ticket. Um, the Watcher comparing the movie, if anything, to Fellowship of the Ring and introduces you to a larger world and leaves you wanting more. That's a great point. I mean, and would you agree to that, Bridget? Do you feel like, as somebody who's now just been introduced to a new cinematic universe, all of the MCU, now the DCU, did you
Yeah,
walk out of that like wanting to see more of Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern or Hawk Girl with Isabella Merced, or where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna go see the next movie. The next movie comes out next year in Supergirl. So like, are you excited for more from this world that James Gunn's created?
yes. I think this gave kind of a great little taste, a little teaser of everybody. And it does. It's like, oh, so now we know that when their movie comes out, we already know a little bit of who they are, what they bring. And I think it's going to build that excitement even more. And I think that's a great comparison for sure. It's like we really see this world and what it has to offer and who's inside of it. So we can't wait to see everyone's spin-offs. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's that same kind of, yeah, just waiting for the sequel.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, look, this is the spectrum, right? Like, there's people in the chat, like you guys watching, who will go see it 5 times this week. Other folks will wait to see it, weeks from now, or even just months from now when it's on streaming or when it's available to buy or rent at home, or even the 4K Steelbook we talked about the other day. Enterprising saying might go see it with their dad next Sunday. That's fantastic. M2G saying they have a trip planned next weekend and premium formats go to Fantastic Four after that, which is very much true. I actually had a hard time getting an IMAX screening for F1 myself. I ultimately found it, but it took a little bit of searching to find the right AMC. So I know the struggles of going to see a movie like 2 weeks in, and the fact that it's not probably going to be like on the biggest screen of the best format. So, but Frankie voting to say that we should just do the spoiler chat on Friday. Frankie doesn't see the movie till Saturday or Sunday, right? So he just wants to have everybody on, from the crew here talking about it with full spoilers, and maybe Frankie will just come back and watch it after he's seen the movie. And yeah, Nico saying like, yeah, you can't. It's hard to talk about the movie without spoiling things, which is true. Look, we did our best. Like, we talked for an hour and a half yesterday. So as far as 2027 goes, though, the answer to your question, Frankie G, John, isn't the Batman Part 2 currently scheduled for October 2027? So not the DCU, but it's Elseworlds.
Yeah,
Do we have an official 2027 anything
I
DCU
don't
right
think so.
now?
No, not
It's not
as of
confirmed.
Friday.
Right. So yeah, I guess we don't have anything on a schedule yet, Frankie, but I'm sure that will change. I mean, Johnny went to see Endgame 8 times. But just dude, I watched that last fight sequence on YouTube a million times. Do you know how you click on the official one? There's like 300 some odd million views on it. So I'm not surprised. I think a lot of us have been doing the same thing. But Ron is in the chat saying, "Hello guys, after seeing the Superman reviews, I'm convinced Fantastic Four will beat it in the box office." Okay, all right, Ron. Do you have numbers in mind? Do you care to put a number on it? Like, let us know. Of course, we would like to note that stuff
Yeah,
down.
but I'm curious. Like, I'd say try to flesh that out, because it's like, oh, the Superman
Like,
reviews are
why?
excruciatingly positive. Why do you think that Fantastic Four will beat it? Because if it was like, oh, they were getting mid reviews, then um, you know, I'm just confused a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, Ron, tell us more. Like, why do you think that's the case? Because obviously, yes, like the Superman marketing's been great. The reviews are fantastic. The critics love it. The audiences love it. I think everybody here, despite the fact that we have all three of us have varying levels of, I don't know, like had varying levels of enjoyability from the movie. All of us still, generally speaking, like the movie or like to love the movie, depending on, it was a spectrum of liked it to loved it, and we are somewhere in the middle on there. So, um, uh, all right, let's see. Nothing official in 2027 for the DCU proper, but I mean, it could change. There's still time. Angelica saying, I think 2027 will be The Authority, and the director will be Ryan Coogler. I don't know, because it's not like walking away from the movie. I thought the engineer was like the best character in the movie, and I feel like they already said that movie kind of has stalled out in development, the Authority movie, and obviously the only character from the Authority that at least traditionally speaking is the engineer, which is part of Superman, and they've mentioned that they put a lot of the ideas for that movie in Superman. So I don't know. It's not like Harley Quinn broke out in the Suicide Squad and then they gave her own movie. I wish the engineer was more memorable. Maybe then they could have added more momentum behind the Authority movie, which is currently stalling. So I don't know. John, but we got a super chat here from Figure Drawing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, by the way. Thank you for supporting us on that level. Saying I am in for $25. It's under if it's under $600 or $600 million, and Yash is in for $50 if it's over $600 million. There you go. Thank you, Figure Drawing, again for the super chat. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like
Yeah.
that as well, but like obviously with modern actors
Yeah.
instead of like Paul Newman as Mr. Fantastic, Goldie Hawn as Invisible Woman, like that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I it's just like watching like the trailer in the theater because that was one of the previews. I only got 3 previews, which was oh god, that was amazing. That was like oh my god, I fucking like that was perfect. 3 trailers. That's all you fucking need. You 3 to 5 trailers, and that's it. You don't need 20 million trailers. Anyway,
Yeah.
but
And
watching
go
the
ahead.
Fantastic
Yeah.
Four trailer, like and watching the something we'll get into later, I'm just like, I pray to every higher power that this fucking movie is good. I want it to be good so fucking badly, but like my heart is like I want it to be good, but my mind is like I just can't believe it's good. Like I can't like wrap my head around because it's just like there are some things like a lot of like moments and like certain aspects that like makes my heart flutter and I love that. And but then I see like stuff that like I don't like how the thing looks. I think Pedro Pascal is really miscast and I think Vanessa Kirby is like kind of sleeping through her performance a little bit. So I want it to be and Galactus looks terrible. I don't like it. And I just want it to be good so badly, but it's just like I don't know if it will be, but
It's just I think with Fantastic Four, what really throws people off is the fact that they haven't really given us much beyond the very basics of the movie. Which again, they might be hiding a whole hell of a lot of good stuff that we haven't seen yet. But then
apparently John
again,
Malkovich is back, so like
yeah, I don't know where that cut exists. Well, what's going on with the final cut if they've locked it in or not. But going in with low expectations usually leads to better results. Like I think I was talking about before going to see Superman yesterday. We all had really what would you call how would you say really unrealistically high expectations. So I think it's you go in and you have a high bar for yourself, you're more likely to get disappointed. It's not, and we are all humans, so it's hard for us to say. I mean, I am the one person who keeps saying make sure you leave your expectations at the door, go in and watch the movie for itself. But I watched back yesterday's show and I constantly heard myself comparing it, Superman to Man of Steel, which is fair. A lot of people will compare it to Man of Steel, Superman 2, Superman with Christopher Reeve, or even the Brandon Routh Superman Returns. Like John, you have compared the Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor to Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor, but comparisons is all like the enemy of joy, as they say. So I think watching the movie for what it is potentially something else. That I want to. One of the reasons why I want to go see it again. But yeah, you know what, Enterprising, we will talk about that later. Actually, we'll get into that like right after the Superman conversation. So PLO, on the other hand, saying hopefully they're pleasantly surprised by this movie. But yeah, let's, as I was trying to do earlier before we got distracted, let's get back to discussing some of the actually going through some of the questions that you guys sent in that I've collected here. So let's see if I can pull those up. By the way, before I do, hello, my dream in orbit, saying I've been checking Fandango and all showings at my local theater continue to fill up. A great sign for a non-metro area theater to be generating these kind of ticket sales.
Yeah,
That
same
is a
here. I'm
fantastic
not
point.
like in like a big city. No, I mean
Yeah.
none of outside of Brigit, none of us are in a big city, so that's also kind of a thing. Like I remember, I forget who it was. I don't know if it was a regular or somebody else, where they were like, "Yeah, I'm in like East Bumfuck nowhere, and my theater was filled to the brim." It might have been Frankie G, it might have been somebody else. I don't remember, but they were like, "Oh, I'm in a small town, and our theater was filled up." So that's also kind of a good sign.
Yeah.
All right. That is a
But
great sign, I was going to say. But yeah, Brigit, for you, did you have a hard time? Did you just go for the TCL Chinese theater first, or did you try to get tickets
It's
elsewhere?
funny. I looked in like even Burbank and near Universal Studios, and they were actually more filled up there. So I was like, when I was looking around, I thought, oh, yeah, I'll snap a seat here. But some of them actually were. Some of them are already sold out, much more in the valley and other areas, which is to be expected. I also think, I mean, even watching all the credits, there's a ton of people involved. I bet you a ton of people that worked on the movie maybe live here. I saw people bring their kids, and so I feel like, especially here, it would make sense that there is a. In fact, when I was driving past the premiere on Monday evening, it was
Mhm.
on the way when I was leaving work, so I was like, let me just check it out. And I did. I saw like the whole street was lined with people wearing their Superman shirts. I mean, there was a ton of turnout. It was really exciting. Like, yeah. So it obviously makes sense here. People love movies. People love the DC
No,
universe.
I that seems to be the theme here. And I know, Yash, you just asked if you can do a quick theater scan. I saved your comment. We're gonna get to that in a second. So let's get through all those questions first, and then we have to talk about some Fantastic Four. We got some Batman news. We will always finish the show with Superman news because, of course, that's how we like to do things. I have been doing that for the last year, and so we have more updated projections for Superman's opening weekend. I know that you guys, Noah is here asking us about that as well, so we'll do that. Um, are you referring, Noah, to? I don't know what that comment was about. I don't understand what you meant by that, Noah. You can clarify for us if you like. Jeremy's here. Hey guys, happy to join the chat. Thank you, Jeremy, for hopping in there. Seeing you for the first time tonight. Yesterday, we had a fantastic time. Pardon the pun on the show. Jeremy sent in some great questions. Yeah, but Noah, I don't know what you meant by that comment there, but let's get into some of those questions, shall we? So the very first question that I have here is from Frankie G. Were you guys able to see the meta human mural in the movie? Did any of you guys notice a meta human mural in Superman? I didn't,
I
for the
don't think
record.
I did.
I don't think I did
So
either.
if it's something that's spoilery, we will save that, I'm sure, in a second watch. But I didn't notice it. No, I didn't notice it at all. I mean, unless you're talking, was that something in the third act? I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't. I don't remember. But I mean, thank you for pointing that out. I'll look for that, and then when I go watch the movie the second time around. Caleb saying, I heard Superman has a lot of dark and messed up moments. Is that true? So, without giving away spoilers, I can tell you guys that this movie goes dark in certain places and very unexpected ways. Like I mentioned yesterday, I thought that there were parts of this movie that were darker than Man of Steel was. So there's that. I mean, John, Bridget, would you agree that there are some dark moments for Superman in this film? Like really, like obviously it's a very colorful movie, but thematically speaking, from a story standpoint, did it get pretty dark at times?
I think so. Maybe I don't know. It's just like hard because like I watch horror movies a lot. So like literally somebody can get their arms ripped off, like a fucking blade to the neck. Like the most I've seen some of the most gross, screwed up shit. Not like torture porn levels. Like I haven't seen like Human Centipede or anything like that, but I've seen some pretty messed up stuff. So like some of the stuff that happens here, even in like a superhero movie, it seems rather harmless to me. It has like a couple weird moments we were talking about yesterday, but like nothing that's like supremely dark. I don't think like nothing like I would say there were darker moments in Shazam, like that, because that definitely showed, or darker moments in Aquaman. Like I thought there were darker moments like that were noticeable. Like for instance, like I remember the scene in Shazam where he's like where he goes to his like dad and his brother and he's like getting revenge with the seven deadly sins and um, so he like murks everybody, and that was like really dark, especially like in that kind of movie. Or like you had like that scene in Spider-Man 2 where like Doc Ock is getting operated on, and like he just murders all those people. But these are like horror directors. I mean, James Gunn is a horror director, but nothing that's like supremely like like the trench scene in Aquaman. That's literally dark, but that's also like figuratively dark. So nothing nothing I think is like too dark that's like that'll like get people's like you know, I don't think so.
Yeah, I can probably count on my hand the number of things that I mean, when I saw it, I wasn't thinking like, "Oh man, that was messed up." But there were moments that I was like, "Oh," definitely moments like that. Um, it wasn't like, yeah, again, I agree with John. It wasn't like I've seen much worse stuff. Again, it did have a pretty positive atmosphere most of the movie. So yeah, there were a couple things that felt like, "Oh, okay," but I don't think it really I would still say it's, like, pretty friendly. I don't know, I told my sister, I mean, she's still in high school, but I was like, "You should go watch this." So I don't think it's too disturbing, if that's
No,
what
I
people
don't
are
think
worried
so
about.
either.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
we can't give
yeah,
away
I mean,
spoilers, but I do think there's a couple of moments in this movie that get pretty dark. So, um,
I
like
mean,
neck
you're not
snapping
wrong.
level
there are a
dark.
couple, but like I think MTG. We were
Yeah.
talking about that yesterday. I think the question comes up like they're selling a movie to take your young kids to, but it's not graphic. But the thing is, like I was saying this yesterday. Like look at like some of the movies in like the '80s that were rated like PG, like Black Hole, Beastmaster, Something Wicked This Way Comes, any Don Bluth movie. Those were like way, way, way darker, and those are meant for like only quote unquote only kids.
Yeah.
Secret of Nim, like Land Before Time, those are like way
Yeah.
darker and deal with more serious stuff than this movie. I mean, sure, you have like this kind of thing here, this kind of thing there, but it's like wrapped up like for the most part in about. And to quote, like paraphrase Don Bluth, because I don't remember the exact quote, he's like, you can take like, and I'm sure Dan has kind of reiterated this a bunch of times, but it's specifically a Don Bluth quote I remember where he was like, "You can take a child on a very perilous journey, but as long as you end it happy, they'll be fine." Like they can go through like this horrific journey of like Littlefoot losing his mother, his friends being in danger, them almost getting killed by a T-Rex, all this other stuff, but it ends with them getting to the paradise. I forget the name of it, but like it ends with them getting there. Spoiler alert for like a 40-year-old movie, but it's like they get there and the thing is, it ends happy. So like you can, because that's kind of like what life is in a way. Like you deal with all this terrible shit, but then it ends with hopefully you at peace. But like it's like that's like kind of. It's just like life can like really bring you down, really take you down to these terrible places. But like but you're gonna get your reward in the end. Like you're gonna, if you're a good person, you're gonna get there in the end. I think that's what that this like a lot of like really like terrible things can happen in his movies, but then it ends okay. So that's what I think it is. I think I don't think anything here is as dark as those movies. So you do get those like darker moments, maybe like a couple weird moments here and there, but for the most part, it ends on a very good note. So yeah, I think that's you know, um It's definitely that, I think.
Sorry, my audio is kind of wonky here. Give me 1 second,
No,
but
you're good.
yeah.
I
Yes, you
mean,
could possibly say it is a family movie.
What's real is family.
Okay. Uh,
bring it
I will
out.
no. Here's but to kind of counter what you were saying, John, just for the moment before we get to the next question. Um, I've seen multiple people talk about this. I don't know. Yesterday, Fiona brought it up. We were having a conversation on the way back from the movie. The idea that, look, on a very grounds level, like if you're a parent and if you know somebody who's got like a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, like the age where, again, they were one of you guys were saying, like, yeah, they've been marketing this movie as kid friendly, the genuinely, like, and then somebody one of the neighbors like asked, like, hey, they have a 9-year-old boy who wants to go see this movie, and they were like, oh, I don't
I
know
think
if you would want to show them this movie, because there's a few things in here which would definitely
that's
spark
fair.
conversations that parents don't want to have. I mean, Brigit, you know what I'm talking about, right? There's
I do.
definitely 2 or 3 different moments across the entirety of the movie where, like, do you
They're not
really
really
want to
family. Yeah.
like explain that to like a kid? Like, oh, what does that mean? Like,
No, yeah.
it's like,
And what
what
people
would you
say
think? Because
about
I
it.
mean, you have younger siblings yourself, right? Like, would
Yes. I mean,
you would you take them to this movie? Like, do you think there'll be some awkward questions or conversation that would come out of it?
yeah, I think, and that's the difference. She's in high school, so she understands. But I think anybody below maybe 13, 14, that is a good question. And there's I would even say at the end, some of the violence a little bit for me. It was supposed to be humorous, but even then I was like, okay, that is kind of violent. I mean, that's definitely kind of a big component of this too. So I would say, like, if you want to shield that, I think that's totally understandable, because that is, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it was. There are some moments in this which, and maybe I wonder if they do that to really kind of contrast against the fact that, oh, Superman is the complete opposite of that. His character, he's so good that there's this stuff that exists in the world, but his actions are so, they seem so wholesome. But then there's also, yeah, that
Right.
existing.
Because I think James Gunn in many ways thought, oh, as long as Superman's not the one doing the gruesome things, it's okay to include in the movie. And again, I'm not attacking this movie versus like Man of Steel, for example. But obviously, some reviews have said, like, there's no neck snapping in this movie. Well, there isn't, but there are other things. That's the thing where I'm like, if the marketing makes it seem like this is a very kid friendly movie, like the
I
Superman movie with Christopher Reeve
Yeah.
era. And I do feel like there's moments in this movie where you're like, ooh, like, like in the it's some of that stuff will go over kids' heads, but other times they will ask you questions. I'm just saying, it's like, if you had a younger sibling, or if you had kids that were like preteen or even younger, especially younger than that, like and let's say they're not even gone to middle school yet, that age, like, it's harder to bring those kids in because
I don't know. I
I don't
think
know.
people
It
are just.
depends on the family,
I
but
just think
I'm
people are
just
getting
saying.
mad over nothing. I saw RoboCop when I was 11 years old, and I'm
I
fine.
know.
So
I'm
it's
just,
like,
again, it's you can have this conversation endlessly. I think every parent makes a different decision. We sat next to, a kid who it sounded like he must have been 11 and 12 years old. He was there with his dad. His mom left early. So again, like, there were already people there seeing it, right? So it's just the thing of, after seeing it once, then would you think differently? So yeah.
I do think I agree with Yash on this, or Yash, or I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Okay, hold up, but like let's not get into the yeah. Um
That doesn't spoil anything. I'm just saying, like, I'm just, because it was
you're
mainly the second
starting
part. Is like, I think the kids will be
yes.
fine. I think kids will be fine.
Yeah.
I think they're more sure. Okay, then they ask a couple questions. Then, oh my god, the worst thing, they ask a couple questions. Oh
I mean,
no, the world is ending. You have to be a parent for once and answer questions. Ah, like, I don't know. I'm just seeing it like, it's just so weird. I mean, the thing is, outrage at movies have always been a thing. Like,
That's
I
fair.
remember
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
movies I mentioned, Black Hole. That was Disney's first PG movie, and they got hate mail for months because of that. And the parents were like, "I'm not taking my kids to see Disney's first PG movie." Like, people have been like that for decades or centuries even, and we're always going to have that, but I feel like people are making a mountain out of a molehill if people are really complaining
No,
about that a
I,
lot.
I again, so far, again, like there's not as many people have seen it, so I'm really curious, genuinely, if that perception because will change because when of the vast majority of the people who are going to see this movie haven't seen it yet, so I wonder how that will change things. Uh, but I mean, yeah, again, it's a spectrum, like we can different
Yeah.
people different standards, right? Like
I would say, like, if you have kids that you wanna take, maybe go see it yourself first, then make that decision. It's probably the safest thing to do.
yeah, and I would say like as far as like if it's adults appropriate or silly and goofy, the movie definitely has all of that. To say
Yeah,
all of
it
the
has everything.
above, it's all of the above to answer that question. Okay, so let's get back to the list of questions we had from earlier. So going from Caleb's question about like the dark moments, which you spent a lot of time talking about, Figure Drawing was asking, now that you've seen Superman, what do y'all think of your initial box office predictions? Also, did you like Creature Commandos? I did not. Now, I'm just going to combine this with the other prediction from Noah asking what your opening prediction. So, between the question from Noah about what is your opening box office prediction for this weekend, and also what Figure Drawing was asking your initial box office predictions, I'm guessing you both mean opening weekend because we've kind of, I think for me, I still think like the overall number probably comes in somewhere between 700 and 800 million opening weekend. I feel like we're going to talk about it in more detail later, but based on what I'm seeing right now, it's all over the place. I still think it kind of comes in over what Man of Steel did. I just don't know if it's going to get to 150, but I definitely think it's going to do more than 116, which was the Man of Steel. Like 116 million is what that Henry Cavill movie did an opening weekend. John, what do you think about the opening weekend number based on having seen the movie already?
I think it'll be I think it'll be over 100 million for domestic. I don't know where it could be like 110. It could be. I know the big number was like 170. I don't think it's gonna get like 170, but
Or
I think like
185 and 200 million was even like tossed up
yeah, I've
before.
seen
Yeah,
that, and I agree. I don't
yeah.
think that's gonna be.
And we're talking
Um,
domestic, by the way. We're not talking about
yeah, we're
worldwide.
not talking about
Yeah,
worldwide. I think
yeah.
I think like we talk about 120, 130 is ballpark. I think that's a good ballpark to have. It's going to be at least over 100 million domestically.
And Bridget, do you care to put in a number on your behalf there? Or do you think it will make 150? Do you think it will do 100 or less than 100 million? What do you think?
It's totally random guess, but I could see it being the upper of like the 130. I mean, I feel like there's a lot people showing up, showing out, excited for this. So I feel like it's gonna do even a little bit better than they're predicting.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to wait and see because the reviews are fantastic, right? And pardon the pun again, but based on the reviews, based on the audience reaction so far, I think we're probably looking at on the higher end of that range. But we will again have a more, deeper conversation about that down later on in the show when we bring in the latest projections. Okay, so and by the way, yeah, as far as Creature Commandos goes, I know John loved Creature Commandos.
I did.
I haven't finished it yet, but so far what I've seen, I love it. Bridget, I don't know if did you see Creature Commandos when that was out on HBO Max?
I did not.
Okay, so I'm sure you can if you get a chance to get around to it and you get see it, then let us know. That was like technically the first thing in the new DCU before the Superman
Right.
movie. Although obviously Superman is a big launch, but it's on HBO Max, so yeah, like kind of like Kite Man, hell yeah. So
Yeah. I'll try and
which
check it out.
yeah, which you had fun with that show, so
I
I'm
love
sure like
I
Creature
will
Commandos.
say
Yeah.
I for what I have sorry, I just my bad. I will say in terms of like the ranking of James Gunn superhero DC stuff, for me, it's Superman, then Creature Commandos, then the Suicide Squad, then Peacemaker. I think Peacemaker is kind of the weakest one. It was okay, but it's not really my type of humor. I mean, I like John Cena. I think he did a really good job. I really like Freddie Stroma. He did a good job. Supporting cast was eh. The overall plot was eh, and most of the jokes don't land. but because it's like frat guy humor. Like it's not like my type of thing. But I'm still curious about season 2 from like a story perspective. I'm curious how like it'll incorporate into the new DCU world, all that. So yeah, I think that's kind of my ranking.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
fair enough. Yeah. All right. So the next question we have is from Johnny asking: seems this movie takes us, the viewers, into the DC universe instead of bringing the DC universe into or DC into our universe, which
Right.
I believe has not been done in live action. I think that's a really good way of basically summarizing exactly what this movie does. I mean,
the
Bridget, how
closest
would
we
you?
got is I think the Tim Burton movies. Those were like kind
Yeah.
of the closest because like I think for the most part it's just like because I mean his Gotham City was the only one that felt like a different world. Like that felt like it kind of reminded of Batman the animated series, even though that came after, but it was influenced by Batman, so it works. Where it's clearly like kind of like a 40s. It's like kind of like a timeless piece. It's very gothic. It's very like that is like Gotham City straight out of the comics. The aesthetic is like near perfect in terms of what you expect from Batman. Meanwhile, like the Reeve movies, that's pretty much New York, but called Metropolis. Like that is essentially what it
Right.
is. And I think Brandon Routh's Superman, that was also closer, like because the Metropolis was very Art Deco. It felt, like a different world. And yeah, I think so yeah.
No, it's fair. I mean, and Bridget, you were going to say something earlier. What do you think about Johnny's comment there? Do you feel
Yeah,
like this really felt like a world unto itself that doesn't feel like our world with Superman in it?
exactly. I think that's really spot on. I don't know. For me, at least, like that's how I kind of would feel watching the Avengers and stuff. It always felt like it was, of course, superheroes, but like it still felt like it wasn't hyper realistic in a world like ours where people kind of took it as face value. But this too, like the stuff that's going on, it's like, oh, this is clearly not, this is a different place. And I think what helps too is the fact that when we have the Daily Planet, we kind of get to see kind of the perspective of the normal people that live there and their take on, the superhero world. So I feel like that just kind of helps to build the whole thing out and make it feel like, oh, the way that they talk about things and relate to them. It's not like they're not just being like, oh yeah, so this just happened. Like it is very like, yeah, it feels very separate from the world that we exist in, which is it's great. It makes it a kind of magical realism escape.
I mean, that's exactly what I think James Gunn was aiming for, and that's the kind of thing that even the MCU doesn't feel like that. The MCU feels like it's our world
Yeah,
heightened,
exactly.
right? And then the DCU doesn't feel like that at all, quite frankly. I mean,
Yeah.
again,
Which I don't
great point.
know. Yeah.
So Angelica was asking, is there any similarity between Superman and the movie Thor: Love and Thunder? Because I've read a lot that they are the same thing. I mean, I know you asked Liz that question yesterday, and she's a big Marvel fan. She said no, but I mean, Liz has her opinion, but John, I want to hear from you, and then Bridget, I want to hear
No.
from you too. Do you think Superman felt like Thor: Love and Thunder?
No, not at all. Because this actually had a story. This had a point to exist. It had people who cared, like cared about it. People who like wanted to. Who it was a good movie. So no, it's nothing like Thor: Love and Thunder because it's actually a good movie. So no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't really feel that comparison myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't believe that at all.
I wouldn't say so either. I definitely don't think it's. Yeah, no, there was way too much. This movie had silly moments, but Thor: Love and Thunder was just over the top. Like it was just to the point where it was like, oh no, this is bad. Like this is really bad. Yeah. And PLO, we can tell you confidently, all three of us who have seen the movie, no, Thor: Love and Thunder was a much worse movie, and Superman is way better. Superman is a good movie. Thor: Love
And
and
I
Thunder
thought
was a
I thought the
bad movie.
humor in this was really, I don't know. I thought it was really funny. I thought it was spot on. I don't know.
There were a
It's
lot of
nicely balanced. Yeah.
there was a lot of moments that like got like, for instance, and this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailers, where like Lois was like, "You have a dog," and like that got a big laugh. There was a lot of Guy Gardner stuff got big laughs, and
Yeah.
you know,
Crypto got a lot of laughs. Yeah.
I mean, okay, bald villains, female side love interest. That's like every movie. Like what? I mean, you could say that for every Superman movie. Bald villain, female side love interest, lots of side characters, and misplaced. You could say
I
that
feel
pretty
like
much
it's
about
like
the
kind of
vast
the
majority of
template.
Marvel movies or Superman movies. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I think that's kind of
Tony Stark built this in a cave with a bunch of scrap. What was the thing? With a pile of
he
scrap.
built.
Bald
Tony
villain.
Stark built this in a cave with a pile
Yeah.
of scraps.
Yep.
And he
Bald
also
villain.
murked an entire
Female
army
love
with
interest.
shit from Home Depot. But remember,
Just
kids,
saying.
Iron Man is nothing. Is a billionaire, so that's why he, he that's why he can be Iron Man, because he's a
Yep.
billionaire. He can't do anything without his,
Yep.
billionaire his.
I mean,
money
also,
status.
but I mean, yeah, Iron Man is a great movie. Even Yash admits it. But Frankie's saying, yeah, Captain America: First Avenger, bald villain, and female love interest. More.
What can we
examples.
say?
There's always a
Bald
female love
men
interest, almost always.
just can't get love. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
That's so
Yep.
funny.
Cool. Okay, moving on to the next question. We have a few more to go here. I'm gonna move past the bets that we saved. We have your comments saved for that. And M2G actually was asking more, or maybe saying that they want to see potentially a Justice Gang movie in 2027, or at least Mr. Fantastic. I mean, I think you mean Mr. Terrific
Yeah.
outing. So Mr. Fantastic
Brought
is
that
getting a movie.
dog, man. Honestly, I
but-
want to see more Guy Gardner.
Yeah,
Like,
I do
want to
too.
see, like, I know we're gonna get like a scene of him in Lanterns,
Mm-hmm.
but like, oh, I want to see more of that bulk. I love how it's obviously a wig. I love how
Mhm.
obviously of a wig it looks like. It's just great.
Oh gosh.
And I love like the ending bit
I love Caleb. They
with,
can't keep
with Guy
going.
Gardner. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like that end, if you've seen the movie, that ending bit was great.
I love that little. Yes, I know exactly. Bridget, I'm sure you know exactly what we're talking about. It involves Guy Gardner. That
It'll be
was
called
funny.
something else when they decide.
Yeah, it was. It's just it was. He again. We all knew that Nathan Fillion was probably going to do a great job. So it's just we shouldn't be surprised. We should not be. You know what though, Frankie? Getting a Jimmy Olsen spinoff at this point.
I want to see that.
Man's
as
got
like
game.
I want to see that as like an animated movie or like a DC special presentation.
Wasn't a Darkseid first introduced in a comic with Superman and Jimmy Olsen?
Because what happened was when little bit of lore. When Jack Kirby left Marvel, he wanted to work on some stuff at DC, but like they didn't have anything for him to really work on, so they just kind of stuck him on Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and then we got some of like the weirdest and wildest like Silver Age stories, but that were actually creative because Jack Kirby was doing them. And then eventually, once he got some goodwill with Superman's pal, DC was like, okay, you can do your like sci-fi epic space opera type thing. And he's like, bet. So he was like eventually going to do Fourth World stuff, but he introduced Darkseid in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. And then he would do like New Gods, Mr. Miracle, Forever People, and all that stuff. And and he would, move on to that. And but yes, Darkseid was introduced in a Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen comic. I think that would be funny. Like have that in the like maybe much later, like maybe like 10 years down the line. It would just be fucking hilarious to have like a special presentation of like a TV special or a streaming movie of like Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and like just Darkseid fucking shows up as the villain. That is the only way I would want the New Gods to show up in like an early sense, because I don't think the New God should show up for like if this universe goes on for a long time, I don't want the New Gods show up for like 20, 30 years. Like that, if this goes on for that long, don't have the New Gods show up until then. The only way I would say introduce them is if they do like a Jimmy Olsen like special or something, and Darkseid is just the villain for like, he's like, I'm looking for the anti-life equation, and he's like, hi, I'm from the Daily Planet, nice to meet you, I'm Jimmy Olsen, and it's just like, you know.
I mean, I was gonna say, by the way, but Yash, I'm not gonna put your comment on screen, Yash, but what you were saying, I think the whole point in the movie is the idea that Lois is asking, like, how do you do this? Like, I think it's everybody's sort of like, yeah, what is it about Jimmy Olsen that like gets women just smiling at him, fawning over him throughout the whole movie, especially in a very plot defining way that we can't spoil for you yet. We do have Brandon joining the chat. Hello, Brandon, saying hello, everybody. I'm new to the channel. On top of that, I'm excited to see Superman. We love that you're here, Brandon, and do stick around. We have been talking about the movie now for 90 minutes, like we did yesterday, and we still have questions from you guys in the chat that we're gonna finish up, and then we're gonna talk about Fantastic Four. We have more Batman news later, and we're talking about the box office projections for Superman as well. But yes, no. Thank you for stopping by, Brandon. And if you are enjoying what you're watching, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that you're here. 20 or 30 years, David will be a senior citizen by that point. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Wolverine, for example. Like Hugh Jackman is still doing that. So
Till he's 90.
I mean, he would be 60 30 years from now. More or less, David Cornsweat, but I'm sure he can.
And that's like around the time that's like around the time of Superman, his age in like Kingdom Come. So
Kingdom Come, yeah. I mean, you that's the amount of time you need to build up to that storyline too. So I definitely see that. Smacky saying the biggest thing I got from reviews in this movie is that Gunn got the character of Superman right, and that's all I really care about is seeing Superman just be Superman saving the day.
You're gonna love
earlier.
This. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say I'm gonna love this movie because that's what it is.
Absolutely. And you know what? Smacky, I think, does a great job of summarizing the idea that Superman this year is just overall looking like is going to be the success that people thought it or wanted it to be, that James Gunn wants it to be, that a lot of us thought it would be based on all the behind the scenes stuff we've been seeing for the past year, the marketing campaign. The critics are loving it. The audiences are loving it, John. Let's finish these questions, then we have to talk about some more. Speaking of reviews, we'll get into a few more of those as well from the other critics out there who have been talking about this movie. Ron, by the way, was saying the reason why he thinks that the movie won't do as well at the box office is because the reviews are divisive and people are saying the movie is just fun, not brilliant. Reviews are saying Mr. Terrific is the standout. I mean, that's the fail for Gunn since the movie is called Superman. Well, no, I think they're saying that.
I mean, people said like, Wonder Woman was the standout in Batman versus
but it was
Superman,
as a supporting character, not as nobody's saying that, Mr. Terrific outshunned Superman in his own movie. That would be a completely different statement. Not to mention that I think there's a lot of people saying this is a brilliant movie or like something to that effect, not just fun, but also great. I would say if the score is in the high 80s or at least mid 80s right now for critics and it's in the high 90s for audiences, that's not divisive. That's like, and that's overwhelmingly positive, quite frankly. My Dream in Orbit was saying I've been fact checking Fandango. Okay, so this here leads me to the question or the request from Yash. Let's do that real quick, and then we'll get into other reviews. I pulled up a number of different theaters from 3 different movie theater chains across the continental United States, as they would call it. And we're going to start with going through. I found a random theater. This is, I believe, the Barton Creek Square is, I believe this is somewhere in Illinois. And so I just picked this out for tomorrow on AMC. So there you go. You got Superman playing in IMAX, filmed for IMAX, Dolby. Maybe we'll just
real 3D, like damn.
But based on the request from Yash, like there we go. Look at this. Do a quick theater scan. Filled. Pretty much all the good seats are filled. You probably don't want to sit in the front 2 rows, but I guess this is your only choice at the 8:30 screening. Maybe we look at a less optimal time. So, or maybe 11:45 tomorrow. Like that one, there's seats available, but like that's pretty late in the day. If you go to an earlier time, maybe let's do an IMAX. No, actually, let's do a 2:45 p.m. in the afternoon screening, half full. So that's still a pretty good, coverage for something that's happening in the middle of the day on a weekday. a 6:30 screening, half full, roughly, more or less. This is still boding well for Superman. This is Middle America, basically. Your parts of Illinois, not Chicago. This is Regal in Wichita, Kansas. And if I scroll down to Superman, they have a standard screening. Let's say we'll do 7:45 p.m. And looks is that pretty much all filled out? Okay, so there's plenty of seats available here. So in Wichita, there's only like a dozen people who are here so far. You go to an earlier screening, still plenty of seats available. 10:05 p.m. That's actually pretty much completely empty. And we go a little bit further. It wants to know if I'm a computer or not. A bigger theater, pretty much all empty. So I guess Wichita, Kansas, at least this theater, not as many people will be going to see it later in the day. But when you get to like the Friday screenings, let's see what they have for us on Friday. If you pick out the afternoon, pretty open, 9:20. Got a nice spattering there. 6 o'clock, not that many. So 8:15 is the primary one. 5 people there. So yeah, I mean, you could see that maybe not as many people are buying their advanced tickets. So we'll have to see if people turn out during the day itself. So tomorrow on Thursday, this is Cinemark in Melrose Park. No, actually, this is Illinois. So I wonder where the other one was. Maybe I misquoted where that city was. But anyway, in Melrose Park, they've got some screenings. Let me see if I can zoom into this a little bit so it's easier for us to see. There we go. So this is D-Box, which is their premium format.
It was in Austin, Texas, by the way.
Austin, Texas. Sorry, there you go. Austin, Texas. So Austin, Texas, there was seats open. Oh, look at this. Okay. Melrose Park. This is in Illinois. The majority of the people have already booked their seats for 7 p.m. I mean, 5:30 p.m. looks like there's quite a bit of availability, not entirely filled up. Mm-hmm. And then if you go a little bit later in the day, this is the 7 p.m. one, 7:25, plenty filled up. Then you get to 8:10, pretty much all the good seats are gone. So yeah, I mean, mixed, I think, is a good way of looking at it. Like, not overwhelmingly like filled, but certainly some of the bigger times are filled up. I didn't look at LA and New York because we already know pretty much those are selling out. Those are the bigger cities. I just wanted to look at Middle America, other parts of the country where they're not huge cities. So attendance, will vary. And
okay,
that's a good.
Well, you were saying big cities. Melrose Park is like fucking East Bumfuck, Illinois. And you didn't say big cities. And look, that's not a big city. It's a big suburb. Oh, excuse me, a big suburb. Oh my God. But it's not LA, New York, or like those are the two biggest ones, or like Philadelphia, or like, I don't know, Orlando, or like Seattle, like the biggest, cities, quote unquote. So,
Yeah. No, it's also this thing of you're not going to see an even trend across the country. The U.S. is a big country. There's 48 continental, states, and then you got obviously Hawaiian or contiguous states they call them. Then there's Hawaii and Alaska. So you will see a lot more people going to see the movies because there's a lot more people that live on the bigger cities than you will see in smaller towns. But like some of you guys were saying, like Smacky saying, they actually have added more time slots, or they are adding more time slots for the 11th. So it's going to be telling, what the box office turns out to be opening weekend, whether the marketing campaign they've been putting together actually worked.
Metropolis has been a stand-in for like literally any city in America. It's never been specific.
It's not just been Chicago.
It's mainly been New York, like Gotham City. Like I know Gotham City has been something for like I know it's been New Jersey, New York, or like somewhere in Michigan, I think. Those are like Detroit, I think. But like Metropolis has always pretty much just been DC's New York. Same with Gotham City. It's kind of been like the darker version of DC's New York, So I think that's yeah.
I mean, hey, the watchers' grandparents in Louisiana are going to see it. That's awesome. I mean, again, do you see the age demographic is wide, really, really wide. And their theaters are packed. They sent watchers some photos. Yeah, exactly. Look, it's gonna be one of those things where not every city and every town is gonna have their theaters packed. I don't think we're at that level yet. This is not anywhere close to Avengers Endgame hype or even Spider-Man No Way Home hype, right? But I think for DC, this is still huge. Like if you open to at the high end of what they were predicting, which could still be in the $170+ million, that is a record for Warner Brothers and DC. It beats out Batman v Superman's number. It beats out Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2's number. So it's not Avengers Endgame level. I think it's a false comparison because Avengers Endgame was a culmination of 3 phases and several dozen movies and over 10 years worth of build up with 50 different, main characters and all. This is the movie that's kicking off the cinematic universe. Like I think it's still apples and oranges to compare it to Man of Steel or Iron Man, but technically this is closer to those movies in terms of where it is in the pecking order of importance to the cinematic universe. Like it needs to have a good first impression and it needs to build up the hype so the next movie does even better. It doesn't need to be the end game. Like it doesn't need to make $2 billion. I think, and James Gunn mentioned, I think it was a couple of days ago on the red carpet, he was asked and he dispelled the idea that, hey, 700 million, that's not a number this movie needs to make to be successful. He didn't tell us what number, but certainly not 700 million. I think they will take the positive reception over like a huge box office number. So yeah, but with that in mind, I know Yash, you were mentioning maybe if the Superman movie has a problem with like the scripting, that maybe James Gunn, he said that he's written like over 600 pages over the past year of script between Peacemaker, Creature Commandos, and Superman. Maybe that was too much writing, but we'll have to see, because right now the only thing we have noticed is that Superman has some uneven writing in a few places. If that trend continues with now when we get to, would you say, Peacemaker season 2, because Creature Commandos was pretty good, but if Peacemaker season 2 is really uneven, then maybe you have more of an argument. So, and as far as James Gunn wanting his cake and eating it too, we all don't want James Gunn to be directing every other project in this new DCU. We want him to focus more on producing stuff too, and just being there to, be the filter before getting everything out there, whether it's a TV show or a movie. And I don't think he's interested in doing the pace of production that he's done over the past year. He set that himself. So there you go. Thank you for all those questions and comments. We have your Fantastic Four ones as well, so we'll keep bringing those in later. But I know Kevin is in the chat. Kevin always drops in the right time, saying the domestic box office is looking somewhere between $100 and $120 million. And yeah, Figueroa agreeing. It's gonna be telling if Peacemaker season 2 is bad, whether Gunn ran into burnout for himself. So we'll have to just wait and see. And we're not gonna have to wait very long though, because Peacemaker comes out literally what, John? It comes out mid-August, right? Do we have a release date for Peacemaker now?
I think it's August 25th, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it's a month away, basically. So a little over a month away. So like we're not gonna wait very long for Peacemaker. So let the countdown begin. But we have one more question from PLO saying, should I watch Creature Commandos before seeing
You don't have
Superman?
to. You don't. I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't
Yeah.
have to. You can watch it before or after, because
Yeah.
I mean, Brigit didn't watch Creature Commandos and Dan didn't watch the majority of Creature Commandos, and they, survived the movie fine. So yeah, I you don't have to. You could if you want to, but it's not. Even James Gunn said it's an appetizer. Do you need an appetizer before every meal? No. I mean, that would be nice because appetizers are pretty great. But like, do you need it? No, you don't need it. But this is the entree. I would say Peacemaker's the dessert. Both are like not required, but they're both nice for a nice filling meal of the opening of years of the DCU.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think you need to see Creature Commandos, and that's exactly the goal James Gunn has had. He doesn't want to give people homework. He has said that many times, and he said, look, there will come a time in later, like 5-10 years down the road, like the MCU has, where maybe it becomes a problem because you get to a point where you do need to watch a couple of things to kind of know what's going on because of how interconnected things eventually become. But until then, I mean, at least right now, if you watch Superman, you will not miss anything from Creature Commandos. If you watch Creature Commandos, it wouldn't matter if you saw Superman or not. And I think the same will apply for Peacemaker, because yes, we did have Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr. in this movie, but I can tell you, it's not going to matter too much what happens in this movie, outside of anything unforeseen in Peacemaker season 2 that we don't know of yet. I don't think you're going to have any trouble if you skip Superman for whatever reason and go watch Peacemaker season 2. You're not going to have missed anything, and that's really the goal here. as far as focusing on team up movies more and going back to doing that, I don't think that's a good idea. I think they need to keep it simple for now. I think that's one of the things that the DCEU had a problem with. They jumped straight after Man of Steel into teaming up all these characters, whether it was BBS or Suicide Squad, or then getting to Justice League really quickly. I feel like they need to take more of their time. It's
Mhm.
okay to do team up movies. I just don't want them to do like 5 team up movies after just one Superman, and they're not,
I
because
mean,
we're
look
getting
at
Supergirl and
even
Clayface.
though the one team up movie is kind of stalled. Look at the first 5 movies that were announced.
Hmm.
The Authority was the only team up movie, and
And that's not even
that
necessarily
might
going to
not. Who
happen.
know? That's up in
Yeah,
the air now. So, but I'm just
yeah,
saying, like 1 out of 5, pretty good odds.
yeah, yep. Yeah, and I will tell you this too, because when they talk about opening weekend, M2G making a good point about box office, they do include the previews, and we have heard that Superman
Mm.
made like up to $20 million in just preview pre-sales, including the Amazon previews that we went to yesterday, the exclusive Prime
Mhm.
screenings, and then also the previews from what will be tomorrow and Thursday. So yeah,
That's
and plus what it's going to make Friday through Sunday. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how well it does. And we'll keep talking about the movie, guys. We're still here. More questions. We're going to keep it spoiler free tomorrow, but then Friday we'll get into the spoiler chat. It looks like so far everybody's okay with doing that. Even Frankie, who won't be seeing the movie until like Saturday or Sunday at the earliest. So with that in mind, I think we're going to move into the next topic. We have already spent a lot of time talking about Superman. We will talk about more Superman later in the show, but we have to talk about a few other things. So let's switch gears. But guys, before we do, let us know what you think about Superman so far. Did you see it? What did you think about it? Drop your comments down below, or if you're in the live chat, thank you for watching us live. Hit that like button. We do appreciate that. Like I said, we're gonna get back to Superman box office projections. There's more news from James Gunn about the Batman 2, as well as Brave and the Bold. So we'll get into that as well. Some other social media promotion from Superman that we'll talk about, because the promotional tour today, as we speak, is in New York City. So they're continuing to promote the movie, and then they will be in Beijing by the end of the week. So we'll have lots more to talk about that on the show later. But right now, let's switch gears, shall we? As I mentioned, we do have some Fantastic Four news to get into. So that's what we're going to do next. Let's talk about the Fantastic Four first steps, which we now are seeing the marketing ramp up for this movie, because we're getting closer and closer. So they've decided, like, you know what, this is about time. So I want to get into this with
Mhm.
you guys. John, I think you have it open here, so let's bring it
Yes,
on stage here. The Fantastic Four, they put out a new mural. Is that a new mural out in LA?
I think
Uh,
so.
I don't know,
Yeah,
Bridget, have you seen this?
I is it the billboard? Because when I left the theater, there was no, not the mural, but I saw a giant billboard for Fantastic Four, which looked pretty cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
it looks nice. I mean,
mural? That looks really. I don't know where that
they
is.
say it's the Carrera Cafe in LA. So
I can
you
look up
could,
where that is. I have
yeah, it
no
might be
idea.
close to you. Who knows? I mean,
I
that
wonder if it's,
this is pretty cool,
I
and
wonder if it's
it's
in the
like,
studio
yeah,
lot, maybe, but I don't know.
maybe. But it looks like they hired an artist to do this. So it's not like this is not a print by any means. This is
Oh,
somebody
it,
got a chance to do this. It's
I
a
think
great project.
it's in WeHo in West Hollywood.
Oh,
Oh,
nice. Okay.
cool. So
Well, you're gonna
I
have to go there and take a photo
will,
for us if you
for
get a
sure.
chance.
Yes, before it gets painted over again. Yeah.
It looks a lot. It looks fantastic. Pardon the pun. All right, John. Moving on to the next thing. We've got a few other things to get into for the promotion of the new Fantastic Four movie. Which, look, the big thing that we have been talking about, like, Superman has been overshadowing Fantastic Four in all of its promotional marketing. Partly because Superman comes out first, and it has, and we're talking about it all week this week. But now that Superman is basically out, Fantastic Four is picking up its promotion, because now it's got 2 weeks, the final 2 weeks before it comes out. So today they put out a new featurette, John, and Bridget, you both saw this. They're calling it must see. I want to get your thoughts on it. What did you think about this new featurette? It's all about the family. You get more new shots, more new footage. Did it give you anything more that, like, about the movie? Did it enlighten you in a way about the story that we haven't really seen before? Bridget, I'll start with you. What was your reaction to seeing this featurette?
Yeah, I feel like it was a little bit more telling, at least the behind the scenes as actors, how they kind of felt working with one another, which is always nice to see that they were talking about their chemistry and just kind of, harping on that theme of family. So it's good to at least it gives you a sense. At least we really know what maybe the theme is here in the movie. And then later too, you saw her holding the little baby. So yeah, I feel like it gives us kind of more insight, which is exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love all the little itty bitty pieces. Again, we're seeing more of the behind the scenes chemistry of the cast and the fact that they obviously enjoyed making this movie with each other. And you could see that from all the press stuff they've been doing. You could see the amount of stuff they did practically with the sets. And then obviously you see some stuff that, that's clearly being added in post production. So I loved it. I mean, John, what was your reaction? Because I know you have
I mean,
some high
this scene right
expectations.
here, right there, is just amazing. Love to see that. Like, I don't know, it just I'm still iffy on the couple, but I'm loving Johnny and the thing, and I think Herbie's pretty cute. I think Julie Gardner looks pretty good as the Silver Surfer. I don't like the
Mhm.
slicked back hair; looks kind of weird. But there's
I mean,
that, and
she's
then
basically like a Terminator, right? Like T-1000. So,
yeah,
but
I
except
mean
I don't
Silver
know if she.
Surfer. Silver Surfer came first, so
That's true.
um,
That's true. Very true.
but Galactus looks iffy. Like I like the actor; his voice is going to be amazing. But I'm just kind of iffy on the look. He looks like what he looks like to me. Galactus looks like if like the what the Fan Four Stick Galactus would have been if they went with because Galactus was in the early drafts of that movie. Like he was going to be like the main villain, and then that script went through like 14 rewrites. So yeah, I think it was I think that's like kind of the vibe I get, and I'm like that's not the best vibe, but I still want this to be really good, and I think this featurette was very good and very exciting, but it's mostly stuff we've seen before. Like we've gotten like stuff with like the Fantastic Car, all of them.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to be playing through the whole thing, but
Yeah.
we don't want to get caught by the YouTube gods there. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I think this movie has a lot riding on it, both figuratively and literally. It leads directly into Doomsday, according to Kevin Feige. I just hope that the movie lives up to what Marvel has been hyping it up, which is like this is gonna be the third time's the charm. I guess unless you count the one from the 90s. Um, as far as who will stand out so far in the marketing, I feel like to me, Eben Moss Bachrach's The Thing stands out the most, and then of course Johnny Storm, Joseph Quinn is doing a great job with everything. I mean, it's hard to tell how much Mr. Fantastic or Sue Storm are gonna stand out in the movie because so far their performances seem a little dull. But it's also because they're like the most somber characters in this movie. But maybe when we get to the movie itself, they'll stand out more. I think from an enjoyability standpoint, yeah, Joseph Quinn and Eben Moss Bachrach's characters, The Thing and Human's Torch, are the most likely ones that we will be talking about walking out of the theater. So, I mean, Brigit, anything else to add to that before we move on to the next thing?
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with you what you say too. Just Quinn seems a little bit more kind of that young, excitable energy. I think
Yeah.
maybe the other two into their
Yeah.
parenting roles. I don't know. They're just. I can see what you're saying though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fair enough, John. Let's get into
Don't tell me how to fight sexy aliens.
You don't tell me. I don't
Honestly,
tell you
I
how to
will
fly your
say,
ship.
like, that movie
And
might have been bad, but like Doug Jones and Lawrence Fishburne, that was a great Silver Surfer. It's just a shame that his Galactus was Cloud.
was a cloud. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
can't have nice things. Anywho, but yeah.
So talking
Wow,
about
I haven't
this
seen this
though,
before.
so basically there was a special fan event. I mean, they're doing their own version of a world tour that like Superman is up to right now, finishing it up with New York today and then Beijing. I think it's tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But with Fantastic Four, they've been to Paris, which we'll take a look at in a second. They were in Brazil, and then in Brazil, they actually showed the fans a 30-minute chunk of the movie. It wasn't the first 30 minutes of the movie. I think it was somewhere in the first half of the film, the first and second act. And so it was a 30-minute preview. Again, like John was saying, kind of similar to what we saw Superman do in a lot of its, and a lot of its like stops on the tour. I know Man of Time got a chance to see that. And everybody who got to see it over the course of like Manila, Rio de Janeiro, and everywhere else they've stopped for the Superman World Tour, it led to a lot of positive word of mouth. I think we're seeing the same thing happen here because the reactions have been hailing it as the best MCU movie since Avengers Endgame, which I know, John, you will say
since the last best movie since Avengers Endgame, which was the last one, which was Thunderbolts. Saying that yet again. Everyone just forgot about Thunderbolts. Like it was like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. And then next thing. I am consumer. I shall consume next product. Like, all right, guys, just those attention spans, they remain short.
I mean, Brigit, obviously none of us have seen this preview, but I am curious what you think about the idea that they're doing something similar here. But also, if you can scroll down here, I believe we can take a look at some of the reactions, and I want to get your take on this, Brigit. I mean, again, as somebody who doesn't watch a ton of superhero movies, you watch Superman, you liked it quite a bit. Based on what you're seeing here in terms of the reactions, which the screen just went black, John. I don't know what happened there.
That's strange.
There we go. But I mean, Brigit, based on what you're seeing here, like people calling the world building incredible, a cool introduction to the quartet,
fantastic,
their powers, and the looming threat of Silver Surfer. It feels a lot like The Incredibles, super fun, colorful, different from other Marvel movies that Silver Surfer steals the show, and even other comments you see on screen. Does it excite you more to go see this movie now? Because obviously, a couple of weeks after Superman, would you go see the Fantastic Four?
I mean, yeah. I mean, especially when people are hyping it up with these reviews, it does. The excitement, it can be contagious. So yeah, hearing people say that it is like the best thing since Endgame, that's kind of convincing. They're influencing me here a little bit. Yeah, and I mean, I like that it's retro. I feel like it's different than stuff we've gotten, so it's interesting. And again, like I'm all for like that fun, colorful, the vibes. Sometimes I'm just there for the vibes, and if it's got that, then I'd be excited to see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's only 30 minutes of the movie, right? So, like for example, they did show 30 minutes of Buzz Lightyear, the Lightyear movie, before that came out, and the first 30 minutes of that movie are pretty fantastic. But then again, pardon the pun. But then after you get past the first act and parts of the second act, the movie starts to kind of like become pretty mediocre. So hopefully, the 30 minutes they showed here were not just the best parts of the film, and that it only gets better from there. So I'm looking forward to seeing a good Fantastic Four movie. John also is looking forward to seeing that. It is funny that they compared it to The Incredibles because a lot of people say, yeah, like the idea
does have like the same.
It has a baby.
I don't think it's better. This is a good point. Like, is it better than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Because I think that is the best, MCU movie since Avengers Endgame. At least I do think that. I don't know what else you would put above it. Yeah. But yeah, hey, The Incredibles. Go figure, right? The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie according to a lot of people. Can this actual Fantastic Four movie be better than The Incredibles? We'll have to see that. But John, did we have the Paris photo in there somewhere? Let me see if I can pull it up. Actually,
I don't think so.
There we go. I think I got it. Let me see if I can put it on screen. Because, like I said, before they went to Brazil, they also went to Paris, which, unlike Superman, where they actually only sent James Gunn and Peter Safran for the Fantastic Four. Part of the Paris
Brigit
tour
already did Black Canary, so there is that.
There is that.
Yeah.
I mean, it does help that you're surrounded by a blue background. That is definitely
That's true.
that definitely helps.
Yep. Well, you can see there you have Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal. They showed up in Paris, the first stop on their tour. Vanessa posted about this saying, "First stop, Paris. We love you. Thank you so much for your love and support. It means the world." And I'm guessing the FR is for the French flag, which didn't translate well in the Instagram page here. But that's great. I mean, Vanessa Kirby, I don't know, like if they're gonna have Vanessa Kirby go everywhere, because like she's pregnant, right? Like, I mean, like, how much of the tour can she actually take part in? That's a legitimate question for me. And then Pedro Pascal, of course, the guy is just, he's America's daddy, and then now he's just gonna be Francis'
And now
daddy
he's
too.
gonna
I
be
guess
Franklin Richards' daddy.
that's also true. That is also true. The very first time we're getting to see that on screen in a live action movie. This looks fantastic. Again, pardon the pun, but I'm sure they'll be making more stops along the way, and we'll have to just wait and see if they show all the different every different stop, if they're going to show all the 30-minute footage that we got to not us but the people in Brazil got to see. But yeah, Enterprising also saying, Brigit, you have the beautiful hair for it, so there you go. People seem to love the idea of you doing a cost. Maybe in a couple of weeks, if you really love the movie, you can go. You can.
Yeah. I mean,
You can
you
do
guys
that. So
tell my agent this as well. It's really going to help me.
I'm refusing to call the baby. It's the MCU Jack Shot. There we go. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. He's gonna be father of Marvel Jesus. Wait, no, I think that's Deadpool. Anyway, that's all the Fantastic Four promotion we have for you guys right now. There will be more to come in the next couple of weeks, and we will talk about that as it comes our way. But until then, guys, let us know what you think about the Fantastic Four. First steps. Are you impressed by all the work that they're doing to now build up the hype for what is going to be the last MCU movie for a year? Probably a little bit longer than that, actually. And Avengers Doomsday comes out next December, not this December, next December in 2026. And Spider-Man Brand New Day supposedly doesn't even connect much directly to the events of this whole multiversal crossover. So this is the last time Marvel might be able to sell us on what's coming our way with Avengers Doomsday. Are you excited about the Fantastic Four? Let us know in the comments down below. But right now we have to move forward to the next thing, which of course what we're going to be talking about now is a trailer. We every day on the show we usually try to get in at least one trailer reaction. So today that trailer reaction is for Wednesday. So Wednesday season 2 specifically is set to come out soon. Of course, the first one was a breakout hit. Jenna Ortega, one of her many projects that she became a superstar through, and now a few years later, it's finally coming back for a second season. So it's about time that we get more marketing for it. So here comes the trailer. John, I think you have it open. Let's talk about it, shall we? Because I want to get into your reactions. I know both Brigit and John, you saw this, so let's talk about what you thought. About the Wednesday season 2 trailer. It teases Jenna Ortega attempting to save Emma Myers, or quote unquote die trying. I'll start with you, Brigit. What were your thoughts on this? And also let us know, did you see the season 1 of Wednesday? Are you looking forward to seeing season 2 coming out on August 6th of this year?
I unfortunately have not. It's been on my list. Just like I have not even seen Breaking Bad. There's a lot of shows that I know are amazing that I should watch, and I get told to watch all the time. I just haven't had the time yet. But I obviously am very familiar from what I've seen about the show just circulating online. And yeah, I mean, just watching the trailer I thought it looked great. And I do like this storyline. I feel like it's really high stakes. And I mean, I might just, if I do have time, I might just start watching season 2 if that's kosher, if that's okay. Because it does look good.
John?
I mean, it looks good. It's just like I can't invest in Netflix anymore. I can't. Like, I can't invest into any of their originals because I know like the best shows always get canceled after 1 or 2 seasons. And on top of the fact, like, even if it does last longer, sometimes it just kind of shits the bed. Like, for instance, like look at The Bear. The Bear had like those first 2 seasons were like really good, and then season 3 was just horrible, and I've heard nothing but terrible things about season 4. So there's that, and then you had like Game of Thrones, which like, the first half of that show was great, and then the second half, especially the last season, was terrible. Squid Game got that first season was like the most talked about show like ever, and then the next 2 seasons apparently were horrible. So I just don't want to invest in something and then like eventually like just have it like at least with something like Dexter, I watched that live and I saw it go downhill, but like at least, I just want to like maybe I'll give this a chance when it ends. Like
Yeah.
I'll like when it finally because it has a good cast. I mean, you got Steve Buscemi, you got Billy Piper, you got all these great people in here. But I'm just like kind of like maybe if it ends like properly, Netflix doesn't cancel it, kind of like Cobra Kai, where it like actually ended properly. Um, yeah, that's what I've heard. So I think maybe I'll just wait until it finishes or gets canceled, but it has like a decent ending, so it doesn't end on a cliffhanger, and maybe I'll watch it. So, you know.
By the way, I'm kind of almost slightly offended that when you said it has a great cast and you said all the names, you conveniently forgot Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I mean, she's on screen right now, and like you can't
So
really
is Steve
recognize.
Buscemi.
Well, you can't recognize that
he's right
Steve
there.
Buscemi.
Honestly,
Yes,
I
yes,
forgot
you
his
can.
her
Oh,
too
that
for a
Catherine
second.
Zeta-Jones.
I was
Oh
like,
my god.
I didn't know who that was.
Like,
Like,
come
said
on.
that.
Who would see that picture and be like, oh yeah, that's Steve Buscemi? That doesn't look
I
like
do.
Steve Buscemi.
That's Steve
I didn't
Buscemi. You
recognize
said
him when he came
you
into
said Steve Buscemi. I was like, he's right there. He's on the left side of the. I don't. Okay, I'm just saying. The most recognizable name in the show. I mean, sorry, Jenna Ortega. I mean, maybe depends on the. Maybe I'm aging myself here, but anyway. Wednesday season 2 comes out August 6th. Only part 1 though, John, right? Because they are releasing it in multiple parts. So the first part of the season comes out on August 6th. It's gonna hopefully be good. I mean, Lady Gaga is ramping it up. The trailer looks fantastic. Again,
that was the other name, Lady
word.
Gaga. I was like, who else was in it?
And she's actually the most popular person out. Anyway,
yeah,
but
I
guys,
was gonna say, yeah, you mentioned Breaking Bad. I'm like, Better Call Saul was another example of that. That was the show that stuck the landing. So I will say, like, here's the thing: Cobra Kai was great and good chemistry. I don't think it really had a bad season. Like when it became a Netflix show, the first season was a little wonky because it was like they were kind of accustomed to like a new streaming service. So that was like but like I felt the rest of the show, I think like season 6 had some ups and downs, but that was a show that it stuck the landing for me. Seasons 1, 2, and 5, I think were the best seasons. Seasons 4 and 6 were very good, and season 3 was okay. It wasn't bad, but it was okay. I just feel like the weird subplot with like Miguel, like, you know, he gets his legs back because of rock music. Okay. So, you know, come on. No, Cobra Kai was good. Cobra Kai wasn't so bad. It's good. Like, that's like Batman and Robin or like The Spirit. Like, those are like so bad they're good. Cobra Kai was a genuinely like good show.
I mean, I for one,
that was let's not.
I for one,
How I Met Your Mother.
Just getting back to Wednesday season 2, I haven't finished season 1, but this trailer makes me more excited to do that. So, what about you guys? Did the trailer move the needle for you? Are you more excited for the new season of Wednesday coming out in August of this year? Literally weeks away from now. If I were to count the actual amount of, it's like 2.5 weeks, so or more, 3 weeks maybe. You know, basically less than a month's time. So August 6th. Are you looking forward to it? Jenna Ortega coming back, Lady Gaga, you got Catherine Zeta-Jones, as John would tell you, Steve Buscemi, amongst many others. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought about the trailer for, of course, Wednesday, season 2 on Netflix. So, with that, now it's time. John, why don't you bring in the music? I will bring in the graphics because now we're going to dive into the quick hits. And actually, before we dive into the quick hits, do you want to do the... Do you want to let's just dive in.
Let's dive into quick hits because I have no idea what the hell you just said because your microphone just went out. So,
am I back? Hello.
But it sounded like you were underwater for like a hot second.
My bad. Okay. Let's dive into the quick hits. I did want to say though, after the quick hits, I think Brigit will be stepping out because it's been a long show as is. So we want to make sure that you can get your rest. And yeah, we'll talk a bit more DC after it. We got Superman and Batman. But let's talk about, of course, the quick hits. So, John, we got to first put the right thing on screen. Boom. There we go. That's still not the right thing.
Anyway.
Close enough. There we go. The Devil Wears Prada 2 adds Lucy Liu, Justin Theroux, BJ Novak, Pauline Chalamet, and more to the cast. Are you guys excited for The Devil Wears Prada 2?
Nope.
I was going to say, Liz, Brigit, what do you think?
Liz Brigit says,
It's fine. It's fine. I'll get it right eventually.
Okay. It's fine. I'm just pulling your leg.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It better be good. I hate when they make bad sequels.
I mean, we know Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep and like a lot of the bigger stars are all back, but these will be new additions. So
yeah. I mean, I know Pauline Chalamet was in Sex Lives of College Girls, so I've seen her there, and she's a pretty good actress. So
isn't she? Is she like the sister of Timothy? Timothy? Okay, cool.
yeah.
Sorry,
she is.
I refuse to call him by his actual name. But anyway, moving on to the next thing. John, we're gonna move on to the next thing.
We are moving on. Sorry.
Slow horses.
Another very goddamn. Sergio Oldman's old as fuck, but they're still chugging along with this damn show.
I love Slow Horses. Season 5 doesn't come out till later this year, right? So they had already given it a season 6 in October of last year. And now it gets an early season 7 renewal over at Apple. So Slow Horses is gonna get at least 7 seasons, which means if you are invested in the show or if you want to catch up to it, go watch the first 4 seasons because there's at least 3 more coming. What I love about this show is every time they air a new season, at the end of the season, they will give you like a preview, a full-blown proper trailer for the next season. So I really love the fact that they will have, at least 3 more seasons. So it gives the showrunner, obviously the cast, the crew, everybody some level of guarantees. Like Brigit, as an actor, don't you like the idea that you at least have a couple more seasons to work on a project? So it gives you a sense of reliability, right? Like predictability to what you're going to be doing.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, John, have you seen this yet? Have you watched Slow Horses?
No, my parents watch it. They say it's great.
Chuck Cage in the chat.
Caught up on the 2 episodes that my parents have been waiting on me to watch for all mankind. So I just did that after like a month and a half.
I mean, fair enough.
I'm a busy man.
Fair enough. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Let's keep going here. We got a few more.
Move on to the next thing. All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. There we go.
Take it over, John. Take it over. This is all yours.
Look at this in a great video, by the way, that they posted. I thought that was great. I'll explain in a second. But apparently, we are getting a Garfield sequel with Chris Pratt as Garfield, which is great stuff. I mean, the first one, not that great of a movie, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was like okay, it was fine. I thought Chris Pratt actually did like a good job in the role. I thought he did better as Garfield than he did as Mario. Release the Pratt, but I will say the video was really funny. I don't think they have it in this article, but no, they don't. But it was essentially Chris Pratt coming in with like a stack of pizzas. And he's like, like he's coming into like a hotel room or something. He's like, I got the pizza's here. And he comes in and he opens up the first pizza and it just says Garfield 2 written on the pizza. And he's like, wait, who ordered this? And he turns to the camera. He's like, you did. And then it ends. And I'm like, that's creative. I like that.
That is very clever. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, in terms of guys in everything, I'll take Chris Pratt over Pedro Pascal. But that's just me. I'll take Chris Pratt over Pedro Pascal and Pedro Pascal over fucking Ryan Reynolds. So like, I'll take that's like my tier list. Anyway, Liz, what are your fucking god damn it, now I'm doing it. I'm sorry, Brigit. What are your thoughts on this?
I didn't watch the first one, so I have no idea. But I agree. I feel like Chris Pratt is kind of becoming the Ryan Reynolds where he is in like everything. But that little aside you said about the marketing was, that's really funny.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. I'm like, I'll watch this. I thought the first one was a pretty cute movie. So like, it's nothing great, but I'll take it over like Cat in a Hat.
I love that movie. I would totally watch another live action of that.
I can't wait for this. I love Chris Pratt, and I hope that he's part of the DCU. Anyway, I know now half of you guys are going to hate me for that, but anyway, let's keep on going. Move on to the next thing.
Yes, next thing.
I also love Garfield. But speaking of the DCU
Superman stuff,
there's new behind-the-scenes looks over at the cast of Superman. These are all, for whatever reason, black and white photos, but I thought this was
Justice
pretty funny. Not funny, but fair enough. Justice is gray if you talk to Zack Snyder. I do love these photos.
These are like terrible quality. Like Maybe you can find a better one.
I don't know.
This is from DC Film News, so maybe there's like better ones.
Maybe
but
yeah. I'll have
some of
to
these
go
are kind
find
of
them.
grainy.
Mm-hmm.
So
They look
yeah.
pretty good though. I like the
They look
behind the
good.
scenes.
It's
You
just
could
like a
tell
Western
this is when they were filming on a soundstage, right?
Yeah.
But yes, yeah.
Anyway, let's
keep
move
going.
on to the next
Let's
thing. But
keep going.
more,
Aww.
Richard Brosnahan thanking LA as well as
you know what? We don't even have to see the rest of the pictures. I think we'll just keep it on that.
well, I was surprised that this dress is from Ralph Lauren. She said it was an insane dress. Thank you, Ralph Lauren, and of course David Yurman for the jewelry. So, I mean, yeah, this is far and away the best she'd look on any
she's
red carpet.
Rocking
Yup.
it. She is rocking it 100%.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, every dress has been wonderful, and every like outfit has been wonderful, except for those leather pants. Ew. But like,
Actually, I'm
look at
curious.
Look at that power couple right
I mean,
there.
I'm curious, Bridget. I'm curious. Leather pants? Yes? No? What do you think about those? Nicholas Holt.
I'm surprised he wore those. It was so hot the other day. They were-
Exactly. I'm like, bro, it's
Sweating.
LA. It's so hot. Why?
I think
Why
leather
are you wearing
pants
leather
at least have to have like a leather blaze jacket. I don't know. It looks a little strange and not practical at all.
Well, I don't think any of what they're wearing is practical outside of maybe James Gunn's double pleated suit. But anyway, or double breasted suit. They definitely saved their best looks for the world premiere in LA. So, again, they all look fantastic, even terrific, if I must add. Let's move on to the next thing.
I don't think I missed any pictures. Okay, there was.
Oh, there's a big photo with the rest
There
of the
was
cast.
then there was the big photo with all.
Yes.
I will say also Beck Bennett loving that suit.
Loving
You
it.
know. Anyway,
I also love
but-
Christopher McDonald on the edge there.
Oh, two
yes.
amazing Lexes.
Lex,
There
meet
we
Lex. Michael Rosenbaum.
We got
I know a lot of you guys
Lex
were telling
Beckman
us.
right there.
Yeah, he was on the red carpet. He chummed it up with the rest of the cast and crew of the movie.
Amazing. Also, I'm curious what his role was in Superman because I didn't see or hear him anywhere.
He said
but,
he
like,
did some voiceover work, so I'm pretty sure it was one of the. Again, not a spoiler because I'm not even sure, but I didn't actually look for it in the credits, but I'm pretty sure he voiced one of the robots. I think that because he said he did some voice work, so he's not.
Yeah, that makes the most
Yeah.
sense. That's what I was thinking. So, yeah.
I think maybe a baby.
Anyway, Michael Rosenbaum.
Yash seems to
voted.
love the look of Rosenbaum. Yeah, and he's a beautiful man.
Yash,
okay.
I'm curious. Do
Calm
you think
down,
he looks
Noah.
sexier bald or with hair? I'm just curious.
Speaking of calming down, it looks like the Rendezvous with Destiny didn't quite work out for Warner Brothers Discovery because they've gone back from calling it just Max to once again HBO Max. Of course, this itself is not news because they announced it at the upfronts a month or so ago. But today, officially, or at least if you're on the East Coast now, yesterday, on Wednesday, John, they officially changed everything on the app. So if you update your app, it has gone from being called Max to HBO Max again. HBO Max is back.
Yep.
I don't think it should have ever gone anywhere. But Brigit, what do you think? I mean, do you even have this streaming service? And
Yeah.
was it confusing the fact that they just did like a flip flop? Like they went from HBO Max to Max and now back to HBO Max? It's
Mhm.
It's a little silly. I mean, I feel like what was sillier was all the memes that they had about it. Trying to make it like
Mhm.
I
I agree.
we're making fun of ourselves before you can make fun of us. It's just kind of silly.
Yep. Well, John, I don't know if you have anything to add to that other than the fact.
Yeah,
that
it was
this
kind of
is
dumb. Like,
the dumbest.
just like stick with
marketing
one lane, my
moves.
guy. Like, come
Yeah.
on now. Anyway,
Exactly. The Rendezvous
thing.
with Destiny will never not be funny.
speaking
Yeah.
of HBO Max, a show that nobody knew existed got canceled. Oh no!
Exactly, Chuck. Exactly, Chuck. But dude, yes, I mean, look, we were talking about this before the show, John, right? The new bad robot J.J. Abrams produced Duster show with Josh Holloway of Lost fame in the lead role
Thank you, I appreciate that.
canceled after one season because apparently not enough people saw it. Even though the people that did see it rated it really highly, its Rotten Tomato score is pretty high, the audience scores are high, but I mean, look, HBO Max, we talked about it not that long ago, that HBO Max actually, in terms of like where they stand amongst all the streamers, have a pretty relatively small market share. So if you are one of the more popular shows on HBO Max, it doesn't necessarily mean you're one of the most watched shows across streaming, and it never made the Nielsen ratings top 10. And it just seems like there was not enough momentum behind it that, you know, the folks over at HBO wanted to put the money behind a second season. Not surprised. You know, JJ taking L's left and right, like Frankie's saying. John, Brigit, do you care? Did you even know the show existed and
Nope.
now it's gone?
Anyway, moving on.
Okay. Well, John, I know you had a really amazing reaction to this, but basically what happened here is the creators of Black Mirror, the two people you see here in their photo, Charlie Brooker and Annabelle Jones, they were under a contract with Netflix, but they had their own production company that's actually owned by Netflix. It was like a weird first of its kind deal, but basically they still had a time contract. So that contract finally ran out, and even though they were heads of this production company in-house at Netflix, they said, you know what, we're not going to renew it. Good luck on your future endeavors, Netflix, and we out. So now Black Mirror, it looks like Netflix is going to continue with it. I know at least one
Although,
of these.
to be fair, they did say that Netflix are kind of, and Black Mirror has not been formally renewed beyond season 7 by Netflix. So we will see.
Yep. So I mean, they did, also in this article they point out maybe one of the two creators will be open to the idea of coming back to continue working on the show, and they've got other stuff going on, like Brooker saying like, yeah, he would want to continue on the show, but still, I mean, Brigit, I'll start with you though. Like, have you seen Black Mirror? I mean, there's obviously many seasons out there, and it's considered one of the best sci-fi things. But without the original creators being there, would you continue watching it moving forward if it were to continue?
That's a good question. I mean, now that I know that, I don't know. I might have watched up to season 4 or 5. I honestly don't remember. I don't think I watched up to 7. But yeah, I feel like it goes for kind of anything. If you know that the original creators behind it are leaving and somebody else is picking it up, it's probably not going to be the same level of quality or consistency. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's a pretty broad genre of like crazy sci-fi, like what ifs, like in a futuristic world this could happen. It's not too complex, but I don't know. Only time will tell.
John, what about you? I mean, a show without its creators
is the case. I feel bad for Black Mirror fans because this show is gonna fucking suck now if it's only Netflix. I mean, if Charlie Brooker, maybe if he's writing it, it could maybe be good. But like, I mean, a lot of people, not everybody, but some people have said that like the show hasn't been good since it was like the Channel 4 days. That was when it was originally on, and then Channel 4 canceled it, and then it went to Netflix. And a lot of people said, yeah, the Netflix stuff was good, but the original Channel 4 stuff was way better. So obviously we will see, but I can't imagine this will be good without Charlie Brooker and Annabelle Jones. So, yeah. But, yeah.
Hi, Antonio.
It's probably going to suck now. Sorry, guys. Anyway.
Okay. You know what, John? You talk about this because I could not wrap my head around this at all.
Yeah,
I have no idea what this is.
Yeah. Big Bang Theory spinoff. Stewart fails to save the universe, ordered to series at HBO Max. Okay, another Big Bang Theory spinoff after Young Sheldon and George and Mandy's first marriage. It's like, okay, yeah, it's about Stewart this time. All right, sure. And let me guess, he's just going through life as a loser, you know, comic book store owner and, you know, blah, 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 like whatever. But I read this, and this is the synopsis from this article, mind you, where it's the official synopsis reads: comic book store owner Stuart Bloom, is played by Kevin Sussman, is tasked with restoring reality after he breaks a device built by Sheldon and Leonard, accidentally bringing about a multiverse Armageddon. Stuart is aided in this quest by his girlfriend Denise, geologist friend Bert, and quantum physicist / all-around pain in the ass Barry Kripke. And along the way, they meet alternate universe versions of characters we come to know and love from The Big Bang Theory. As the title implies, things don't go well. What drugs were they on to make this fucking show? Because, I'm sorry, what? This started as a show about 4 dorks who are dorks. Like, that's it. That was the show. Somehow it lasted 10 seasons. But what is this? Like, the young Sheldon was like, oh, it's a prequel to one of our main stars. Oh, this other sitcom is the sequel to the prequel that takes place in between the main show about another side character. What is this? This sounds like a weird spin-off, like non-canon Halloween special where it's like at least with like Phineas and Ferb, like Candace saves the universe or Candace saves the second dimension, whatever the fuck it's called. But like that makes sense because it's Phineas and Ferb. They do weird shit all the time. This is literally just a show about like 4 guys who are nerds. Like that was it. That was your, and now you're bringing multiversal antics into it? Are you kidding me right now? What is, and this was ordered to a series. Apparently, Duster, fuck that show. We have to bring in multiverse shit that somehow is attached to Big Bang Theory. What? What is this? Brigit, am I going insane or is this like normal?
mean, now that you've really broken it down and explained what it's about, no comment. It just sounds weird. Yeah, I don't know who they think is going to be interested. I just can't see it really. I can't see it succeeding at all. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, How I Met Your Father. Yeah, nobody remembers that.
I oh wow. Ooh.
You know what, Bane?
Hello.
That's true. He has a better chance at restoring the multiverse than restoring the Snyderverse, so I'll give them that. Honestly, a stupid part of me wants to watch the show because I just want to see like how bad it is and like how it is. Like I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
That's
Weird.
interesting. I didn't know that the George. I didn't realize that was a Big Bang because I haven't really watched it in a long time. I didn't realize it was a spinoff. I've seen advertisements for it.
I don't know, but weird.
Let's keep going.
Anyway, let's move on. All right. Apparently,
before you do that, by the way, we do have the Glimmercast in the chat. Hi, Ryan.
Oh yeah, hi Glimmercast.
All right, you were saying.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
next up, A24 to release Chinese animated blockbuster Najat 2 in U.S. theaters, and Michelle Yeoh leading English voice cast because of course she is. Thoughts? Because I think this is kind of cool. I mean, I kind of want to watch the first one. I've heard good things about it, and it's on YouTube for free with ads, I believe. So I'm kind of weirdly curious about it.
This is where I think finally we will find out if the rubber, when the rubber hits the road, is it gonna actually make the kind of money that it did in China. Obviously, I think the movie made a lot more money in China than it's gonna do anywhere else because it's very much tied into Chinese culture. So I don't think this is gonna be anywhere near as successful in the US, but I guess we'll find out how good it is actually. So yeah, I know. Brigit, did you hear about this? This is supposedly
across my radar. Well, I didn't know.
It's supposedly the highest grossing animated movie of all time, made over $2 billion. But
we did talk about this briefly. Yes, I think it was like
so
exporting to China. It's not actually verified.
Yep.
I mean, we'll see if if that is true. I don't know, but apparently the first one's really good. Somebody here watching, they said it was very good. So
yeah, I don't know where to find it though. You let us know. Where did you see it in a movie theater or is it on Netflix? Because I'm like, if I want to see the second one, I would probably want to see the first one first, right? So
yeah,
we did. We talked about it for 90 minutes here, 90 minutes yesterday. So if you want to watch either of those, and we're gonna have a discussion on either Friday or Monday. So.
But we're also gonna have more Superman stuff later in the show, so do stick around. We have Batman, Superman stuff coming up, but we did talk, for almost 2 hours yesterday
so I think
and
it was
today.
Enterprising that was talking about it. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So I'll see if I can find it on YouTube. Well, yeah, it looks interesting. We'll see if how it does. If it's well, it is gonna be in movie theaters, so A24 also a growing name in the business. So there we go. Let's keep going. All right, the last quick hit today that we have is my favorite piece of news of the day. A new Night at the Museum movie is in the works. Of course, Ben Stiller, you see him on screen there with the late great Robin Williams, as many other actors. He was the core of the franchise, the first 3 movies back when the 20th Century Fox days. Now, of course, 20th Century Studios. Believe it or not, I didn't realize this until reading this article that these movies, at least the first one, was based on a book.
Yeah,
so,
it was based on a picture book. Yeah.
So what they're looking to do now is essentially almost like the best I understood it, it's like a reboot. Like, John, if you scroll down, isn't it? I think this is meant to be a reboot. So, or like but here's the thing, like I don't know if it's actually a full reboot or not, because Tripper Clancy is writing it. You don't have to highlight it, but it's
yeah.
What worries me is his biggest credits are the Die Hard movies, not Die Hard, Die Hard with the Kevin Hart movies, and then he did the Stuber script. He did it on spec, sold it to Fox. So, but the Stuber movie with Batista and Kumail Nanjiani, not exactly the best movie.
I mean, to be fair, who directed Sean Levy? Like, that dude didn't.
Well,
really
his company, 21 Laps Entertainment, are the ones producing this too. So,
yeah, so it's like, it's Sean Levy. Like, that dude makes like mid-action movies, so it's like that makes sense.
I mean, I just want to see Ben Stiller involved in some way, whether he makes a cameo, is in the movie,
or maybe Skylar Gisondo becomes the new security guard because
he was a kid.
He played his son in the third movie.
Yes, he did. Yes. I forgot. I was like, I had seen him somewhere recently. Well, not recently, but like, yes, he did. They did recast the kid, right? Because
also like or something.
Yeah. I was like, he was in the third one.
The first kid was different. I don't know who that kid was.
Yeah, in the first couple of movies.
With Skylar Gisondo, but Skylar Gisondo is about the same age and looks older than the original kid. So they can't. You're like, oh, the kid got too old, but it's like Skylar Gisondo looks older, like in that movie. So I'm like, I don't know what that was about.
Totally different.
By the way, I'm just gonna say, I don't know if you want to see watching this or not, but this is your hint. The world is telling you need to watch the Night at the Museum movies. I've been trying to convince her to do this for like a long time. Like, we need to watch all 3 of them. At least start with the first one, not sleep through it. So, I grew up on these movies. I love them.
I mean, the first one's good. You could stop there.
Yeah, honestly.
yeah, but like I had fun with the second and the third. Amy Adams in the second one. Carla Gugino is the big female lead in the first one.
Yes. I swear.
And in the third one, there's like 2 Ben Stillers.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Brigit.
I think we only own the second one on DVD for some reason, so that's the one I saw the most, and I kind of hate that one now. But yeah, it's so funny. I actually found this little thing that I wrote in like 2nd grade about like stuff, and it talked about me watching Night at the Museum for the first time, and I was like, I love the little guys. They're so funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh, remember? It was Jonah Hill was in the first one. No, the second one is that he goes to the Smithsonian, and it's like, he's like,
Rebel
read the name.
Wilson was in the third one.
Yeah, okay. But say he was the security guard in the Smithsonian. He was like Brundon. And then Ben Stiller's like, what happened? Did they run out of like vowels at the alphabet store for your name or something like that? And then it was anyway. I enjoy those movies.
God,
they're corny, but I will take it. I love
the first one. It was a good movie. The second one, I was like, that's bad, and I just kind of stopped there.
The third is not the best.
Robin Williams was in all of them, and actually, the last Night at the Museum movie, what was it? Was it Secret of the Tomb, or it was? I forget what the name of the last one, but basically, the third Night at the Museum movie was Robin Williams' last movie, and they had like a
and
tribute
Mickey
to
Rooney. And Mickey Rooney.
Yeah. So yep. But yeah, guys, let us know what you thought about all of the news, whether it's the quick hits or the news topics we discussed. Fantastic Four, of course, Wednesday season 2. We just talked about a new Night at the Museum movie in the works, and the Jaw 2 getting a US release. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about all of that. Of course, we're not nowhere near done yet, but of course, we do invite you to hit the like button if you're enjoying the show so far, and drop it into the comments. Let us know what you think about all the different topics, and we're going to keep on going here because right now, we have to switch gears once again and get back into talking some more DC before we call it a night. So let's get back into that, shall we? Because we still have some Superman news, some Batman news, and even some other stuff beyond that to get into. As we always do when we start up the DC conversation during the show, we want to ask what everybody's excited about. So I did want to ask you guys, of the many things we're talking about in the world of DC, John, I'll start with you. What are you most excited to talk about today? Outside of obviously Superman, because we know we're talking about a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm excited to talk about little bit more Batman news. I mean, we got so much Superman. We're getting excited about Batman now because ooh, Batman. Um,
I'm
yeah. So, Batman. John.
um, Brigit, I know that you're going to be stepping away, so thank you again for taking the time to join us on the show today and talk about Superman. We'll see you back on the show soon. So everybody definitely say your goodbyes to Brigit for now, or more of a see you later, because we'll see her back soon. Thank you
Yes.
again for stopping by. If you guys have any comments for Brigit, drop down in the comments. Brigit, anything else you'd like to add?
I know, but I wish you guys the best with the rest of the podcast and what you have to say about DCU. So keep watching. Bye.
All right. We'll see you later, Brigit. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll continue the conversation, shall we? So, with that in mind, without a further delay, let's get into the very first topic, John. I don't know if you have it actually loaded up, though. Let me know when you got that.
Oof, I have been, I have been.
You've been snoozing over there, John. Let me see if I can find
Sorry.
the.
No, I got it. I got it right here. We're good.
There we go. Okay, so let's do let's do a deep dive, as they say in this article in Nexus Point News, talking a little bit more about the DC Studios International TV projects. We mentioned this the other day, and I found this article which kind of dives into a little more detail, about what DC has in mind for all of these various projects, including, of course, potentially Palm Clemente being involved in one of the new was it Katana, or was it the
It
was
Huntress. Katana would
Huntress.
be a better fit, but
I do think so too. Yes, I do think so too. All right, so everybody wishing a great rest of the night for Brigit. Noah calling her Wonder Woman. Wow, okay, she got Sue Storm and Wonder Woman all in the same show. That's great. Brigit's doing great. Okay, John, let's scroll down here and talk. They do break this up a little bit. So the very first thing to talk about is, of course, Palm Clemente, and as Huntress. I mean, this has never been formally confirmed, but obviously James Gunn, loves working with the same actors. We know that she was a big part of the Guardians franchise as Mantis, and while she's done a lot of action since with Mission Impossible franchise, do you really see her as the right fit for a Huntress character, or no?
No, I think she would be better as other characters. I don't think she would be in the right role for Huntress. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, there was another actress. Was it Jung Byung Gil potentially attached? There was like a leak before, but I don't know if that's true. Again, James Gunn hasn't even he completely dodged the bullet when he was asked about it at the press event earlier in the year with Peter Safran. So I have no idea if this is actually going to be something that comes true at all. Like, I don't actually know if a Huntress is actually a real project. Nobody's saying, James Gunn is certainly not saying it's happening, at least officially. So Poison Ivy could be another good fit, potentially. Lady Shiva, that's another good option. John, could you actually zoom into the page a little bit more? Let's enhance, as Caleb would say. And let's keep going here, though, because we do have a few more things in here to get into. Actually, as you scroll up a little bit to that, there's the last paragraph, the second to last paragraph.
Oh,
did I lose you there? Nope. A little further down. There we go. Nope.
there's nothing left.
No. Okay, hold on. Let me. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. So the sources tell. I'm going to read this from the article. Sources tell NPN, Nexus Point News, the core elements that make up the Huntress will be present in the several other projects being developed as part of the DC Studios International slate. These elements include an international setting, the series being written and spoken in that country's respective language, and a cast composed of actors from that respective country. The most important elements of these projects will be developed by creatives from these countries, with most of the projects already having creatives attached. Although characters will be speaking their native languages in these projects, they're still canon to the DCU and are expected to cross over in other projects that are spoken in English. So, John, this does sort of, I mean, they don't name drop a ton of other, characters outside of Huntress in this article, but they do say that very much the idea here is, like we mentioned, Japan, Brazil, obviously Korea, and then maybe even some other countries beyond. They want to include localized talent both in front and behind the camera. I like the idea of that because it really promotes more fresh perspectives into the DCU. We talked about how Marvel has done that, and every time Marvel has done that, they benefited from a more inclusive cinematic universe and also just different perspectives. If Ryan Coogler did not make a Black Panther movie for the MCU today would be a very different place than what it is today, and his influence is not felt across the board.
Yeah. I mean, I
You know,
agree with
Miss
that.
Marvel as well, and then you can go beyond that. I mean, what do
There
you
was
think about
also another thing
their
that is
approach here?
related to this. Could be bullshit. We don't know. But apparently, Godzilla Minus One director Takashi Yamazaki
Ooh.
has agreed to visit DC Studios. So this could be in relation to this project, but who knows? The source is still like it's not an official source. I mean, Nexus Point News is dodgy, but they still have more of a they have more of a they've gotten stuff right in the past, and this is from a very unknown source. So is it probably bullshit? Yes, but I'm hopeful because Godzilla Minus One was so excellent. So it's entirely possible that this adds to this idea that they're developing international projects, and he might do like a Japanese set show. So
Yeah. By the way, Antonio's asking, I'm really surprised you haven't talked about that tweet from Matt Reeves. We did. I know you're referring to the tweet with him announcing that the script is done. And yes, we talked about this a few days. Actually, it was in the thumbnail on that show. So just letting you know there, Antonio, you can go back to that and take a look at it. Speaking of which, John, let's talk about Batman, shall we? Because recently James Gunn was asked on the red carpet for Superman, what's up with the Batman 2? And his question was, or his answer was, he's read the script and it's great. The script is obviously finished. We just showed you the photo that Antonio was referring to. And by the way, I do love the idea if we get the Godzilla Minus One director doing anything for DC Studios would be amazing. But I also love the fact that James Gunn is telling us that he has actually read the script, somehow found the time in all of his travels for promoting Superman and still doing post-production on Peacemaker. John, what do you think about James Gunn saying that not only has he read the script, but it's great? Does that imply that he's got given the green light to Matt Reeves to move forward? Or do you still think they're gonna, try to polish up a few things in the script?
I mean, I hope there's no script editing because that means we gotta wait longer and we gotta, get started on this. And yeah, so I hope that that's not the case. However, what else was he gonna say in regards to this? Like, was James Gunn gonna say, "Oh yeah, the script that we've been like waiting like 3 years on? Yeah, that fucking sucks, Matt. Write it again." And we gotta wait another 3 years. No, of course not. He's not gonna say that. Of course he's gonna say it's great. It could be the biggest giant pile of dookie this way of the Mississippi, but like he's still not gonna say that. Of course, he's like, I'm the CEO. I'm like, it's if he's releasing an article about something, of course he's gonna say it's great. Because if it's like, he has been very transparent. It's like, oh, Waller, Booster Gold, and the Authority have been kind of on the back burner, means they kind of suck. So go say that. But like, of course, if he's the Batman 2, the thing we've been waiting for, it's great. He's gonna say it's great. Of course he is.
I mean, look, I'm not surprised that he's complimenting it. I just think it's really significant that he's saying he's read the script, right? Because it's one thing to have the script delivered to you. It's another to sit through and read it and then be able to say it's great, because he knows we're going to overanalyze the heck out of that statement as we are right now. So he's not just saying it's great because he thinks, oh, yeah, no, it's great. But like, I think what he means here, at least hopefully what I think he means here, is that Matt Reeves has got the green light now to get into pre-production soon. Because like you said, John, the last thing we want is Matt Reeves working on another draft. He's probably worked through a few drafts already, which is why it took so long. But I don't want to wait anymore. Like, I just feel like this movie needs to get into pre-production soon if it's going to start filming by the end of the year, which is what Matt Reeves, when he was last on the red carpet, before the Superman red carpet, when he was on the red carpet for all the award shows for the Penguin, he kept saying, my goal is to get the Batman 2 into production by the end of the year. And then we had that production weekly listing showing that the movie is set to go into production early spring of next year. So if you were to go off of both of those timelines and kind of say, if take it as a range, if they're going to get this movie filming by that time, anywhere between, let's say, December of this year to February, March of 2026, they need to start pre-production soon. So I'm hoping that what James Gunn is saying here means that the script is great, and AKA the script is done and it's approved, is greenlit, and Matt Reeves has got the green light to go ahead and direct the movie, which hopefully he will do just as good a job, if not better, than the first one. But with that in mind, John, we do have another update from James Gunn, because not only was he asked about the Batman Part 2, but also he was asked about The Brave and the Bold. So if you want to scroll down here, I think we have some news from James Gunn talking about both Batman scripts, saying that this was in specific, again, an extension of the quote for the Batman.
That was another like him with the Batman Part 2.
Yeah.
And
talking about
so
how he
the
read it on the
update is,
plane.
there's really
Yeah.
no update.
They're working on a script. We have a screenwriter who's hammering away at it. I'm very involved, and so we'll see what happens next. I wish I had more news for you, but I don't. But luckily, I've got the Batman 2 script in my backpack, and I'm about to read it. So he did say he was reading it on the flight to London as well. So these are from a couple of different interviews on the red carpet. So yeah. Oh, did he? Oh, where is that? Are you sure? Hugo Weaving playing Dr. Hugo. That's interesting.
Dr. Hugo Strange. Are they just saying that because his name is Hugo, so Hugo Weaving plays Hugo Strange?
Are you sure that was not like a fake account on X that was pretending to be Matt Reeves? Because I don't know. Like, why would he announce that and take it down? Like, I mean, Matt Reeves is pretty much, not only, if you guys haven't noticed, he's not only involved with the Batman, the epic crime saga, he's also involved in everything else Batman related in the DCU, because he's one of the executive producers for Clayface, and he's probably going to be executive producing Brave and the Bold, and of course he's part of like Batman, what's the animated show that I keep forgetting the name of, something detective, that's on Amazon. John, do you remember we reviewed it last year? Matt Reeves and JJ Abrams and stuff, they're all executive producing that show. So,
Batman Cape Crusader.
Cape Crusader, yeah. So Matt Reeves is thoroughly involved on pretty much anything and everything Batman related over at DC Studios. So yeah, I don't know why he would tweet something like that and then have it deleted unless it's a fake account. So but I'll see if I can go find it. I'm sure somewhere on Reddit it still exists. But there we go. With that, let's keep the ball rolling here, because John, while we've talked a lot about Batman, I think it's high time that we get back to talking about the real superhero that's bringing in the big bucks for DC Studios, at least right now, until we get a Batman, which is of course Superman. So Superman is out, and we're talking a lot about Superman constantly, quite frankly, and deservedly so, because it might be yet the blockbuster of the summer.
So to be fair, Caleb Underwood is backing Antonio on this. So
2 sources is better than 1.
Yes.
I'll do a quick search, and I'll see
Antonio.
if that.
Fuck Grace Randolph.
It looks like even on Reddit this was deleted, so I'm wondering if this is, again, because here's the thing. Of all the people, I think I found the image, by the way. Let me see, John. I'm gonna see if I can load this up. I mean, of all the people that you would expect to do something like that, I wouldn't expect it to be Matt Reeves, because of like how much power he holds in his position. Let's see. This is the photo. If Matt Reeves really did tweet this and take it down right away, we got our first casting, the Batman Part 2, with Hugo Weaving playing Hugo Strange. I mean, it looks real. It's still X, and I mean, I don't know, John. The fact that he was deleted, either he didn't realize that some contracts were still, yet to be signed, like, so somebody did not, cross their T's and dot their I's yet. But I don't know. You could easily fake this. Remember when people were posting fake Zack Snyder Vero account images? I don't know if this is one of those things. So, I mean, the Glimmer cast. Sorry, Araya is asking who this character even is. Like
Hugo Strange, famous. He was in Batman the Animated Series, and he was famously the main villain in Arkham City, where he is essentially a psychiatrist whether he has a license or not kind of depends on the continuity, but who finds out that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Like he finds out, and Strange Apparitions was a big story in regards to that, where he finds out, and that was like the big thing. Like he tries to take down, like he uses this information to try and take down Batman and Bruce Wayne. So it's a very intriguing sort of thing, and I think Hugo Weaving could be very good. Um, a very good choice for that. I mean, I personally would have wanted Giancarlo Esposito because I think he fits that vibe, but it's different enough from Gus Fring that he would do something different with that. But I still think he would do a great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
yes.
mean, it's crazy. This is in some ways developing news because this tweet is from the 8th, which was Tuesday. So I don't know. Maybe he went out and did it on a day when they want all the news to be about Superman. Maybe that's why he took it down. Maybe, like I said, he was joking around. Maybe he was, I don't know, out drunk and posted and then realized that he made a mistake. Again, we're speculating. Again, thank you for explaining. John says Glimmercast. Esposito, Giancarlo Esposito for Mr. Freeze sounds pretty cool to me as well. We were talking about Red Skull earlier, right? It came up during the conversation about bald villains and female love interests about Superman. Hugo Weaving, of course, was a big part of the MCU's early days. So, yeah, he would become one of the few actors who has then, been a part of both, sides of the coin when it comes to the comic book movie world. So, interesting stuff. But we'll wait to see if this is actually something that Matt Reeves decides to revisit in a more official capacity. But until then, John, let's get back to talking about, of course, the Man of Steel, aka Superman, aka the Man of Tomorrow, True Justice, and whatever else you decide to call him. It's a plane. It's a train. No, it's Superman. I'm too tired to get that right. But James Gunn Superman. Let's talk about the budget, John. It's well, actually, we'll get to the budget later. We have to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score. I know a few of you guys were pointing this out earlier. I think The Watcher said it specifically that this Superman movie now has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than all 4 of Christopher Reeve's Superman movies, which I don't know if that's true anymore, given that it's dropped to 83%. So that might, I don't know if you can find out. Like, you guys let us know in the chat if that has changed, because the score in Rotten Tomatoes has gone down from what it was 85 to 83 for Superman. I know it's certainly higher than Man of Steel, which was sitting at 57. So, and it's also higher than Superman Returns, which I believe was also nowhere near that number. So, Man of Steel much lower, Superman Returns lower. All 4, certainly the latter half of those movies in the Christopher Reeve quadrilogy, definitely not nearly as good. But now that it's sitting at 83% for Superman, maybe Superman 2 is higher. This is obviously a developing situation because that Rotten Tomatoes score will probably fluctuate. Yeah, it will probably fluctuate by a percentage or two for at least the next few days, because as more reviews come in, once we get far enough with up to 300 reviews, it will settle down. But as of right now, I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score for Superman, the original Superman, the movie, is 86%. If I look at Superman 2, which is considered by a lot of people the best Superman movie from the Christopher Reeve era, that had an 88. And then once you get to Superman 3, I mean, things start to go downhill. So I don't know. 31%. And then I wonder what Superman 4 was, The Quest for Peace. 14%, widely considered probably the worst Superman movie, unless you really hate Man of Steel that much. But yeah, so not anymore. Like Enterprising is saying, Superman 1 and 2 are both higher. So there was a brief period of time when the new Superman movie was rated 89%. It debuted with 91, quickly dropped to 90, then it dropped to 88, down to 86, then 85, then up to 86, back to 85, then 84, and now currently at 83. I can tell you that order because I have been checking it that often over the last 36 hours. But
yeah,
anyway.
I think that's kind of the big thing of it needs something fresh, decaying, and rotten. I don't know, not decaying, but something that's
it's
maybe ripe, fresh, ripe, and then rotten. I think that's where it's it's ripening, but it's it's kind of getting there, and then it just I feel
I like Frankie's idea, a spell test, maybe a smell test, I should say. That could be nice. Maybe, I don't know. I think the reason why they have it be certified fresh or rotten and nothing in between, or I guess the in between is the tomato. Like, you get a tomato, so there's either the splat or the tomato or the certified fresh tomato, which gives you three gradients, three colors of a
Well, to
gradient.
be
So
fair, there are ones that are like certified fresh that are less than ones that are fresh. Like there are some that are like certified fresh
soggy.
that are like 70s, but I've seen like other ones that are like
Yeah.
100 and
That's
it's
that's
not
the thing
certified.
that kind of concern, because I'm like, what is the stand? I know they scored. They actually we did this a few years ago on the show. That we went over the rules of Rotten Tomatoes and how they operate. So I know there's a logic behind it, and they do point that out in the section of the website. So I know there's a reason why, like, there's a particular set of criteria which determines why a movie's certified fresh. It doesn't have something to do with as much directly the number, like whether it's 76% or 94% or 83%. It's more to do with the number of reviews, the average rating, I think, because that's another thing they talk about. The 83% number, for example, right now for Superman, all it's telling us is that 83% of however many reviews they have are positive. What it's not telling you is how high the scores are. And the
Mhm.
problem with how high the scores are, if you go through Rotten Tomatoes, if you have gone through Rotten Tomatoes ever in your life, you will know that one critic might call it an A minus, the other one will call it 2.5 out of 4, the next person will call it 3 out of 5, and the next person would say 6 out of 10. So it's like, like you have to do a lot of conversions. So, and they do that in the background,
And
but
but here's the thing, there's a
still,
lot
it's
of
an
movies where
imperfect
like
science.
a 3 out of 5 would
Mhm.
be like a rotten, and then like for other movies a 3 out of 5 would be a positive. So it's like what's the marker for that? You
Yeah.
know?
I mean,
Because
Metacritic,
I
I
know
don't
people have compared,
know if
like,
that's more
I know people think
accurate,
there's like a
but
conspiracy with Marvel
yeah.
versus DC, where it's like, oh, Marvel movies always get fresh scores, and look at this one, 3 out of 5 was
No,
fresh for
that's
Marvel. I know,
that's
like,
definitely a
I'm just saying, like,
conspiracy,
that's like
but
a
yeah.
conspiracy, but that there is proof in the pudding of like some movies a 3 out of 5 would be positive, and then at the same time, um, the 3 out of 5 would be negative. Like, well, what is it? So it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah. And we'll actually go through some of the Superman reviews later on in the show, so don't you guys worry, we will talk about that.
mhm.
But let's keep the ball rolling here because we do have a couple other Superman things before we get into the box office numbers again. So, yeah, John, let's go to the next thing because we'll discuss the review stuff in a minute. I did load up a few things on my end as well. Uh, but the next thing we got to talk about, I think the next one we have is something to do with David Cornsweet, talking about how, well, he was praising Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill's darker version of Superman, saying the one way they become boring, as in Superman movies, is if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Just like Christopher Nolan took Batman and did something darker and more grounded with the character, Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill explored a side of Superman that hadn't been explored on the big screen. This was from his interview with GQ. I thought that interview was fantastic. I know Liz read pretty much the whole thing, which is amazing because that thing was like a book. Not to mention they had like 50 different photos in there, and what was an amazing photo shoot for David Cornsweet as well. And to hear this from the new Superman, that he's not putting down his predecessors but talking them up, and I feel like he's done a lot of that. Like he really does embody the character of Superman as the human being that he is. He's just a good person, David Cornsweet. John, what do you think? I feel like when you put them next to each other, I still feel like Henry Cavill is the more handsome gentleman, but a lot of
Yeah,
people probably these days will say, especially having seen Superman, that David Cornsweet is the better iteration so far.
yeah, I think I think here's the thing with Zack Snyder's experiment. He tried to do something, it failed, it didn't work. And now they're just trying to course correct, and it seems like the course correct is working. So, it's a shame because Henry Cavill clearly loves the character. He loved playing
Yeah.
it, but even he saw was like it was not right. It was not 100% right, and it didn't work for the most part. And I'm not talking about like,
Cornsweet
oh,
didn't say that
positive,
though.
oh, this, oh, that.
But
But
David
it's
Cornsweet didn't say that, like
yeah,
the
no, he
fact that it
didn't
didn't
say that.
work.
That's the thing. But like
Yes.
he was very
Yes.
cordial about it, which was nice to see. Like trying to do something different, but sometimes different doesn't automatically mean good. So there is that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but I do love that he's again not talking anything down. He's not saying ours is the best version you've ever seen. He's saying, look, they did something different, and that's what really you need to do. You need to constantly change and evolve with the times. And Zack Snyder's Superman was a movie, and story for its time. And what we have now is it feels like a Superman that we need today. So I do appreciate that. He's very gracious in his praise, and I think between David Cornsweet and Henry Cavill, they're both great Superman. So regardless of which one you prefer or like, they both are out there. So you don't have to choose one or the other. You can still go watch Man of Steel. You can still go watch the other movies from the DCEU, and if you enjoyed them like I did, you can. I still have a copy of all of them myself. So and I'll get Superman on a physical copy, digital copy. I'm sure I'll be able to see it on HBO Max, and so can you. But let's keep the ball rolling here because we do have a couple of more things from David Cornsweet, John. As it turns out, not only is he a huge nerd about Star Wars and stuff, which he talks about here, but he's also like a huge aviation nerd, which makes me like David Cornsweet even more because I'm a huge aviation nerd. I grew up with my dad working for an airline for literally 30 years of his life.
And that's like this
And
is so Superman. It's so Superman.
Great.
And even Rachel Brosnahan's looking like, dude, fucking really?
It's just she's like, yeah, you know what? This guy is actually Superman in real life. He listens to air traffic control recordings on YouTube all the dang time, which I find myself doing a lot because I again, between that and watching the different planes take off and what the engines sound like and like plane spotting stuff, like
she's like, it's really nerdy.
World tours. Yeah, it's I was like, you know what, David, you made my heart smile with that, and that's if I were to meet David Cornsweet, that's what I would be like. So what channel are you most into right now? Watching those air traffic control.
As long as it's not the air traffic controller from the end of season 3 of Breaking Bad, bro.
Yes, or the ones that have been involved in recent accidents. As long as it's not those guys. I mean, yeah, but
in the great words of Homer Simpson.
Well, if I'm a nerd, then I don't want to be in. It's fine. I'll take that as a compliment.
But then BuzzFeed had to do their friggin' thing.
This looks like it was done obviously before David Cornsweet got his haircut.
It's the thing they filmed a lot of stuff on this day because I remember that Rachel Brosnahan outfit.
Yep.
And back when David had a full head of hair, so
not that he doesn't anymore, but he's got more of a buzz cut. Speaking of BuzzFeed, but the whole thing was, which friend are you in the group? Which seems like a fun game. I mean, you see this all the time on YouTube and stuff. This is on Instagram.
I like how one of them is called the Joker, even though it's not. It's like not like that. Joker,
although Nicholas Hoult would like to see his Lex Luthor crossover with the Joker, so
yeah,
did say that.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? That's true. All right. Well, I think that's all the Superman marketing stuff we've got right now. Yes. But let's get into the box office conversation because, as you've been talking about pretty much every day for the last little while, the predictions, the projections for Superman's box office, they keep changing and evolving. And I know earlier you guys were talking about it. I mean, Kevin Davis has been talking about it, mentioning that, hey, the international numbers need to add up as well. This movie can't just do well domestically. Kevin Davis actually today predicted that they were potentially going to be opening Superman $100 to $120 million domestic opening weekend. But, John, we do have some more news potentially. Screen Thrill kind of did a breakdown on this, saying that Superman's latest tracking is for $200 million plus a global opening, with $20 million already banked in the US pre-sales. I believe that number includes the Amazon Prime premiere screenings as well as the what would be considered previews on Thursdays and really pre-sales for any advanced screening or opening weekend screening, like a lot of you guys and us too have booked tickets for Superman this week. Those all count as pre-sales because the movie is officially not out yet. So up to $20 million just from that. And then we have, Superman tracking for the box office domestically, looking at least over 100 million, which is the number that DC Studios keeps quoting, much more conservative than a lot of the other industry sources are saying. Could be closer to 120 and as high as 130, or potentially more depending on, how well things go. We will get into that a little bit later because we do have a few other articles from different sources quoting different numbers. But domestically, at least 100 million, internationally over 100 million, You can see the two go together to make over 200 million, which would give it a top 5 opening of the year so far. Not the number 1, not the number 2, but definitely a top 5. And then 20 million plus in pre-sales. You can add that together, so it's a pretty respectable number. Now, the marketing for this movie has been fantastic. We talk about it every day for like 2 hours. And so they're saying here in their post, with solid early interest and final reviews just dropping, opening weekend could swing as high as 140 million domestic or dip closer to 90 million depending on audience turnout. We did look at some of the theaters earlier. It does look like there's still a lot of empty seats in some of the smaller towns, but that's not unusual even for the biggest movies. And again, this isn't going to have the Avengers Endgame level of social cultural relevance where literally everybody is going to go see it on opening weekend. So we do expect that, the bigger cities and the bigger, suburbs and towns and stuff, they will have a lot more people going to see it on opening weekend. And then, a lot of people might walk up the day of and get their tickets, which we can't see right now because they're not pre-booked. So that will probably happen because the word of mouth is going to be good, because so far the audiences love it who have seen it already. So with that, John, the question becomes, do you think this Superman movie is firmly set to bring DC back into the red, or into the black rather, from the red, in terms of box office success? I mean, the last DC movie that you can easily say was profitable was not even a DC cinematic universe movie. It wasn't a DCEU film. It was the Batman. And before that, the last profitable movie must have been which was also not a DCEU movie. The last profitable cinematic universe was the $1 billion movie before the pandemic hit. So it's been a long time. Can Superman get there? Not $1 billion, but can it be successful?
I think it can be successful. I think it's 700 to 800 million. I don't think it'll hit $1 billion. So yeah.
I certainly hope so. I mean, even though, again, I didn't have the best reaction to watching it the first time, I think maybe it will get better for me on second and third viewing. I know, John, your opinion of the movie was more upbeat than mine, but maybe not a perfect film, but still wildly entertaining. So let's go to
probably the second best Superman film. Again, the bar is low, but
for me, Man of Steel is still above it. But again, maybe if I see it a second time, that might change. Man of Steel I've seen like 50 times, so like it's kind of a hard comparison to make. Anyway, let's go on to the next thing, John, because we do have a couple of more sources here. This next thing here is more of a breakdown of the budget of the movie, and what they're talking about here. Last year, when we were talking about Superman filming in Ohio, obviously they had a huge production tax credit from Ohio, and so as part of filing for the tax credit, you're required to show them provide them what your budget is, because that's what the tax credit amount is based on. And so there's a certain percentage of your budget that's the maximum amount that they will give you as a tax incentive in Ohio. And so those filings could be publicly available, like if you sign a form and do a Freedom of Information Act request. So with that, people were able to obtain documents. We've talked about this a while ago, but the number was reported to be $363.8 million. That's without factoring in all the tax breaks and everything else, the sponsorship deals, product placement deals, which DC Studios since clarified said that pretty much knocked off $138.8 million off the overall budget, bringing the overall spend for DC in production budget wise to closer to $225 million. But if you scroll down on this post on Instagram, John, they do also talk about the fact that this movie's marketing budget it's been reported that it's closer to 200 million, as opposed to like 100 million to 150 million for most movies. Like F1, I think they spend like 100 million on it. I bet you Fantastic Four doesn't spend more than 150 million on theirs, but you could tell with everything they're doing for Superman, the marketing budget for this is really high. Actually, what I meant is to scroll down on the text side of the graphic.
To show off some of the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So between the production budget and the marketing budget, you can tell where that number of 425 or more in millions of dollars comes from for this movie. So that's what Warner Brothers spent, and that's where a lot of people were getting that $700 million to $900 million to be profitable. And so I understand the logic there is pretty sound, but like James Gunn said, that this movie doesn't need to be one that makes $700 million. Like Mission Impossible, A Final Reckoning didn't make $700 million. There's like a handful of movies, like you can count them on two hands over the last couple of years, who have crossed that threshold. So it's not that often that movies do that. And I think for James Gunn, what he means by his statement is more to do with the fact that this movie just needs to be good. And it needs to just have a good reception with the critics and fans, so that moving forward, when we get to Supergirl and Clayface, those movies have a chance to succeed. Because we have seen in the DCEU, they eventually got to a losing streak where it didn't matter what they did. Like Blue Beetle, good movie, nobody went to see it. Shazam 2, you loved it, nobody went to see it. And we don't want that happening again.
And it also doesn't help that like announcement for the new DCU reboot came literally.
It was like these lame duck movies. Yeah, that
like,
didn't help.
Of their biggest year of 4 movies coming out, and they were all failures because it's like, well, it's getting rebooted, and the terrible any goodwill of the DCEU was gone by that point. I mean, the Snyder fans still weren't around. Any other fans were barely around. Even just the super nerds that were going to go see everything were going to watch this. So it's like, yeah, nobody went to go see these movies because the general audiences didn't care. So, yeah.
And they're hoping to change that, which is so far, I think they have. And this brand awareness, which they do talk about here, there's a lot of awareness for this movie in the market. And that's perfect. Like, that's exactly what they wanted. These huge, like, promotional efforts that they've done, not just in the US, not just in Canada, not just in like the big markets like China and stuff, literally everywhere, right? From Brazil to Philippines, to India, to Australia, New Zealand. We have seen this stuff literally everywhere. If you just tried to collect all the popcorn buckets alone, it would be insane. Those 3 things at the very top are what I got. Actually, I have them sitting over there. I'll have them in the background tomorrow.
Liz got this one.
Dude, that one I really want, though. I want that so badly. Was that an AMC? Because I'm gonna go get that.
Maybe, but the thing is, none of it was available at my theater. She's like, come in next Wednesday and we might have it.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Agree with you there, Caleb. They should have waited to make that announcement. But I also understand they wanted to like get some news out there.
It was probably an investor stock thing. So,
yeah. But I mean, hey, we are hoping that Superman is that financially successful. I think my number, which is considered modest, my box office prediction was somewhere in the 700 million range.
No, you were 825, I think.
825? Okay. I mean, a lot of you guys said $1 billion, and even the lowest numbers were like 600, 500
The
million.
lowest was 500. So, Yash and Ron were the lowest.
Yeah, which is still impressive. And again, it might change, but it's all going to depend on how big this movie opens at the box office. I'm going to see if I can find out what are the biggest, opening weekends of the year so far, because obviously Jurassic World is probably going to be in there, and you'll have like a few other movies. So just the domestic box office opening weekends so far, you definitely have Minecraft in there. You also have let's see, Lilo and Stitch is in there. Okay. So at the top of the list right now, top grossing domestic box office opening weekends, you have very top Minecraft movie. Then you have Lilo and Stitch. Minecraft opened to 162.75 million. Lilo and Stitch to 146 million. And then you have a number of movies that opened under 100 million, with the next highest one being How to Train Your Dragon. Actually, no, Captain America: Brave New World, 88.9. Oh no, not even that. Jurassic World Rebirth made 92. Then Captain America 4 with 88 million. Then you have How to Train Your Dragon with 84 million. So there's only 2 movies that have opened to more than $100 million domestically so far. Both of them are for kids. Like, you got Minecraft at the very top, then you have Lilo and Stitch. So can Superman join that very exclusive club so far, right? And we're just talking domestic right now. Worldwide, they almost doubled those numbers in each scenario. So if Superman can do the same, which is what people are predicting, that it's going to have a similar result domestically and abroad, then that could be pardon the pun again, terrific for Superman. So as you can see here at Box Office Pro, they are giving us their weekend preview. So now that we're here in Superman week officially, and they're predicting that Superman will soar to at least 115 million or more in its domestic debut, and
I
they're
think that's a
talking
good
about July
range.
11th to the 13th. Yeah, the big number here that impresses me is that the market share, like the total number of show times in the entire North American market, that's the US and Canada, 35%, over a third of the entirety of showtimes across of all of North America outside of Mexico, because they only count US and Canada in the North American market. Go figure. But still, 35% is a big number, John. That's like basically every third showing at every movie theater is a Superman showing, like throughout the weekend, which is kind of insane to think about. Like that's how much of a presence Superman will have. And they're predicting 115 to 135. But if you go further down in this, that number could go even higher depending on, how well the word of mouth travels, which we already have seen. It's in the high 90s. So what do you think, John? What do you make of these numbers? Do you believe these numbers will hold true? The comparisons that they're making here, if you scroll up a little bit higher, Man of Steel, 116 million. That's the last the last Superman movie. The highest grossing opening weekend for the Superman movie ever was Man of Steel. Dawn of Justice obviously holds the record for DC movies in general, and is the second highest Warner Brothers opening weekend with 166 million. And then, of course, you have Justice League with 93.8 million, Superman Returns with 52.5. And then when you see the second set of numbers there, that's the overall how much they ended up making domestically. So you can see Dawn of Justice barely doubled its number. Man of Steel actually did quite well for itself at almost 2.5x. And then Justice League also close to 2.5x, whereas Superman Returns actually did a 4x almost. So that's pretty pretty terrific too. What do you think about Superman? Do you think it's going to hold up to those kind of numbers? Is it going to make more than Man
I
of Steel
think
opening weekend?
it's definitely gonna fucking be Superman Returns. Like it's already made half of that in like pre-sales and like the Amazon showings already. Like it's made like half of that. So that I think it's definitely gonna be Superman Returns. It's definitely gonna be Justice League, but I don't know. I hope it's bigger than Man of Steel, but I don't know, and I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna hit BVS, because again that's a huge thing, because it was like Batman and like even people that were wary about Man of Steel, they were like, "Oh, Man of Steel wasn't great," but now you're bringing in Batman, and Batman is, oh my god, it's like Batman and Wonder Woman, and oh my god, look, they're bringing in Doomsday, they're doing all this stuff, and you're bringing in a lot of like fanfare, and they're like, okay, maybe they'll rectify the mistakes of Man of Steel. They didn't, and a lot of people ended up not liking it, and it was a huge drop off, but it like trickled still in almost 900 million. So there's that. But if we're just talking about opening numbers, I think it will. I don't know if it will. I think it'll be around the range of Man of Steel, um, but I don't think it'll hit Batman vs Superman. Obviously, Snyder tards are going to be like, it didn't hit it. It's like also like in terms like Superman Returns, there hadn't been a Superman movie since 1987. There was almost 20 years, a lot of production problems, a lot of movies that like didn't get made, and there was like no like the thing is, I was only like a kid. I was like 9 years old when that movie came out, so I don't really remember like the marketing and advertising for that movie. So I don't think there was a lot. And it was just like, oh, Christopher Reeve isn't back. It's just this guy who's like kind of Christopher Reeve. It's like, nah, fuck that. And also, this was at a time when everything was cheaper, so who knows? And maybe it was up against something. So there's that. Justice League, any goodwill that these movies had was gone by that point. Like any Zack Snyder goodwill towards general audiences were gone. Like it was gone. Like after he flubbed up Man of Steel in the eyes of general audiences, and for Batman vs Superman, it was pretty much gone. And look, and even
But
then,
also the audience is
330
panicked too.
domestic, like 600 million. Like almost 600 million was made overseas. So
Overseas.
there's also something in that
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
So I just think it's gonna struggle with the Batman versus Superman number.
I just wanted to quickly.
I don't
sorry,
think
go ahead.
it's gonna beat two of them. I don't think it's gonna. It's gonna be around Man of Steel. I don't think it's gonna be BVS. I don't think it's gonna be BVS, in my personal opinion. I hope so. I think that would be
166
awesome, but,
looked
like, I don't care.
possible, like a few weeks ago, but I don't know. Like you said, John, maybe we were dreaming a little bit too high or flying a little bit too high. But I will say though, M2G's comment about like like a lot of the marketing for Superman seems to have come from leaked reactions to test screenings and the press. That 30-minute screening wasn't a leak, and the leaked test screenings, most of those reports weren't true. And then also, like, that's not what caused days of headlines. What caused the days of headlines is the fact that if you watch just our shows, you guys in the chat can let MTG know. We've been talking about it for weeks. Every day, we do like 20 different things on Superman. There's so much Superman marketing, from like the press junket stuff, we just showed a few things like that with BuzzFeed, but that was just literally the tip of the iceberg. Not even, that was a tip of, it was the drop off the tip of the iceberg of water that's falling into the ocean, because the amount of marketing they've done for this movie, including the world tour, which costs a shit ton of money, of the $200 million, if that is a number is true, that ain't cheap, because getting all these actors to fly around the world on private jets and put up these huge red carpet events and then host Q&A sessions, as well as doing, like, there was a huge Superman statue in Manila, and then they have all these other promotions, like a whole bridge lit up in India, which again, the bridge lighting up itself, it's probably the most expensive thing, but there's other things around it. They hung up an 11-foot Superman on the Shard in London, which actually, I think one of you guys watching, I think Jordy sent us photos. I'll try to bring that in later. In addition to that, they've been doing all these like brand activations, like all the dresses and stuff that are being worn, and suits that come from branded company like Ralph Lauren, David Yurman. There were other ones like Richard Brosnahan, not Peter Safran, but like James Gunn, David Cornsweet. We did the GQ article, the People magazine, all the different cover shoots Richard Brosnahan has done. Nicholas Hoult, and David Cornsweet together. It's a Rolling Stones article, like all of these things. The press junket, they've had the other cast members doing those endless promotional stuff. The Milkbone, I'll give it away. There is a Milkbone product placement in the movie. It has something to do with crypto, obviously, and there was a huge ad for that, a tie-in comic book. They've been doing other tie-in comics. It's, John, I don't know, popcorn containers. You tell me, what did I miss? Because I feel like at this one, they had the Food Network thing, which I know is kind of in-house, but still counts. The Love Island crossover they were talking, they did a million other things. I don't know, man. I don't know what like the marketing is there. You could see where the money is going. I just don't agree with what M2G is saying about that. I've never seen a studio market their movie as aggressively as Superman, and we've been doing this show for like 4 years
because they're confident.
Beyond that
they're
too,
confident.
Yeah. 400 plus world. That's the prediction with all the toys. You're talking about Noel, like in addition to the money the movie will make at the box office. Well, we're just talking box office right now. So with that in mind, I feel like
I would imagine that there was a lot of marketing for the time, but even then it was not enough goodwill, and it just, I think bad word of mouth and all that just didn't help it. But I think it'll have a better box office opening than Returns and Justice League. I don't know. It might be, it'll either fall short, just short enough for Man of Steel, and it won't even, in terms of opening, it won't even reach BVS. I don't think so. But I think it'll be like 100 to 125, just under or just over Man of Steel. But that's like kind of the main thing, is like, what's Man of Steel? Because I think that's the most important one, because that was the last solo Superman movie. BVS was a Batman and Superman movie, so that almost doesn't count.
Yeah,
so,
I think
Justice League movie, but Superman Returns and Man of Steel are the biggest ones to like go by.
Which, look, if you look at those comparisons, I've been saying the biggest thing Warner Brothers
and I don't know if these are even adjusted for inflation. So.
But again, that's an imperfect science. I think just going off of these numbers alone, I think the big thing they're going to look for is this movie needs to make more than 116.6 million that Man of Steel did opening weekend, with worse reviews, both from critics and audiences. And at a time, it was at a time when superhero movies were just making a lot more money in general, but the word of mouth wasn't there. So, and they did not spend as much on marketing, even though they still did quite a big spend for it. So, because if they don't make at least the Man of Steel money, then their marketing efforts, really just couldn't overcome, the hurdles that DC has put in its way with the reputational damage that did over the course of the DCEU's decline. So I personally hope that it does actually cross over 135. We have seen a few different movies do that, like completely beat expectations. Like Jurassic World opened to even higher than people were giving it credit for. And you could see that Saturday and Sunday, the numbers kept going up. F1, the numbers kept going up. So, and Final Destination, the Warner Brothers movie, the numbers kept going up. So I hope for DC Studios, the same thing happens, that we get to Friday, the numbers up. Like now we're talking 135 is the floor, maybe 125. Then we get to Saturday, like, oh my God, the holdovers are great. Like more people are coming to see this on Saturday and more people are walking into the theater without buying tickets in advance. Boom, now it's 130, 135. Maybe by Sunday, they're like, we might be looking at close to 150. It's possible. Then we get to Monday and it's like 154. I feel like that's the optimistic timeline. But if it gets anywhere close to 135, I would still be happy. I mean, I think that's still like they'll be popping bottles if it opens to that much. And with the kind of word of mouth it has, it will then have 2 weeks to squash the shit out of the Smurfs and then even maybe eat some of the Fantastic Four's lunch. So it's and then after that it's clear sales for a few weeks ahead beyond that. So I think Superman can do very well for itself, John. But before we finish up, I know we promised you guys this at the very top, and I feel like we haven't delivered. Even yesterday we didn't get to it, but more than just us, I know that there's other critics out there who have obviously been rating this movie, and that's why it has a certified fresh score. So if you scroll down here, John, we do want to get into some of those reviews. And I mean, the Eller premiere was fantastic. The score when they wrote this article was 85%. Now it's 83%, but still, like the Hollywood Reporter's own David Rooney said, David Cornsweet makes an outstanding Superman Clark Kent. His performance loaded with self-irony, charm, and poignant vulnerability as he wrestles with doubts as to whether his mission to do good and protect humankind was based on a lie, which we won't tell you what exactly that means because that will be spoilery. But beyond that, John, some of the Rotten Tomatoes ones, is Superman leaps and bounds above other superhero movies. Screen Crush, as Matt Singer will say, easily the best Superman movie made in my lifetime. I wonder how old Matt is. Then Scott Phillips from Forbes saying, so far this has been the century of the comic book film, and while Superman isn't one of the best films of the 21st century, it represents the genre well. So saying not quite the best. Owen Gleiberman from Variety comparing it to some of the other greats in the genre, saying it falls short of the top tier of superhero cinema. I'd characterize the film as next level good, a roster that includes Iron Man, Thor, Batman Begins, Captain America, and the hugely underrated Iron Man 3. So
Based. Iron Man 3 is underrated.
I think so too. Does it do the character justice? Daniel Salzman said Gunn and his team deliver a Superman film that feels worthy of the character's legacy. Scott Phillips again from Forbes saying Superman has always been an idealist and this film embraces that part of the character. Definitely very different from Man of Steel, who they showed us a very internally conflicted Superman, almost like a Batman iteration in some ways that we got with Henry Cavill. Not Henry Cavill's fault, but that's the character he was tasked to play. But with Trace Sawyer, I don't know how to say his name, Awards Watch, they're saying this isn't your grandparent Superman, but it's also truer in method to his on-page adventures than anything we've seen on theater screens thus far. Is it a welcome change for the genre? Trace again saying there's a satisfaction in a superhero movie that's happy to be this freewheeling and ludicrous, which ludicrous I think is a really good way of describing this movie. Shiraz Faruqi saying Superman is deeply rooted in a sense of escapism and wonder without fully shedding the issues of our time. That is actually also a very accurate review of the film. Is it faithful to the comic book origins? Siddhant Adlaka from Mashable saying Gunn has created what may be the single most silver age comic book saga ever put to screen. John, I think you will agree, very, very silver age like this movie is.
Yes.
Which is one of the things, I mean, that could either be a really good thing for you or like for Brigit, it could mean absolutely nothing to you if you're just an average fan going to see a superhero movie. And then we have David Rooney again saying it reveals an obvious love for Richard Donner's 1978 event movie headlined by Christopher Reeve, and for 1981's arguably even better Superman 2 without sliding into reverential self-seriousness, which I guess they're talking about maybe more uh, Henry Cavill. Does it feel like a James Gunn movie? Julian Roman from Movie Web saying, if you like Gunn's style in previous films, then Superman will fly high. This part to me is potentially a double-edged sword, because if you're not a fan of James Gunn, which I've seen there's people out there who have said as much, then this movie won't work for you, because this movie isn't something where James Gunn becomes a different director. Like he's evolving as a storyteller, but this is still very much. John, do you agree? It felt like a James Gunn movie, right? Like you
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to say,
I
"Oh
would
yeah,
say
this
so.
was something completely different from what he has done before."
No, it had that vibe, but he still did some like new things that don't fit into what he's done before.
Yeah. Thank you, dude, for your review. We love that. Where have you been all show? Unless you've just been watching and lurking in the background, we do appreciate you dropping by in the chat and hit the like button while you're here. 8 out of 10 for him. He wants a longer cut with more Superman, Clark, and Lois, less Justice Gang, but he had a blast with the film in general. So, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of the people who are critiquing the movie, they are saying, they were left wanting more. Like maybe this movie needed another 15-20 minutes. You could take that as a positive in the sense that this movie left you wanting more, or you could take it as a negative, saying, okay, maybe the pacing wasn't the best and they cut it a little bit too short. But Jamie Broadnax from Black Girl Nerds talking about the script. We actually use a lot of Black Girl Nerds, posts for especially the MCU coverage and stuff. Jamie said the script is layered with political subtext, immigration power, and the misinformation of the media, but it never feels preachy. So that having seen the movie, I can definitely agree with that take. And then I'll just skip over to talking about David Cornsweet for a second here. Again, Julian Roman from Movie Web saying Cornsweet was an inspired choice to anchor the DCU. How he does great work in a nuanced performance that's extremely physical and emotive. John, you said he even almost felt like Brendan Fraser at times in the movie.
Yeah, he did.
So
In
yeah,
quite a few like poses and vibes, it definitely felt like that for me. Like
yeah,
he's like he even kind of like looks like him a little bit, like the kind of the wider face. Like if it's like somebody took Henry Cavill and Brendan Fraser and just kind of mash them together.
yeah. Okay, we won't get into spoilers yet, dude, but I don't see any spoilers here. But dude saying love Lex in that epic Ultraman fight, but the standout villain to me was the engineer. CGI was much better on the big screen too. Love that pocket universe set style, so awesome, nearly perfect. Yeah, we loved your review again. Staying away from spoilers for today, but thank you, man. That is an amazing review, and it sounds like you loved it. 8 out of 10. A lot of people saying the chemistry between Rachel Brosnahan and David Cornsweet was great, although Brigit on our show earlier today, and then Fiona yesterday mentioned that they weren't impressed by the chemistry. They didn't quite buy into this Lois and Clark being a couple in love. And I think, John, even you mentioned it felt a little like, I don't know, like put together, or like it wasn't as believable at times. I, for one, didn't have a problem with it. I just thought that, this was a more realistic portrayal, less romanticism, even though
Hmm.
you could see that they're kissing here. So there was some romanticism involved in this, but the way it's portrayed over the course of the movie, they didn't shy away from showing that, relationships aren't, one smooth ride. It's a bumpy road sometimes. So, and you can clearly tell in the movie that's what, happens along the way. For still, they've only been dating for a short period of time. So it's still early on. Maybe we'll see the more classic version of Lois and Clark as we get into the next movie and beyond. But Blast from the Past energy, I think, is definitely a good way of looking at it. Nicholas Holt, dude, Julian Roman saying he absolutely owns this film. I wanted Nicholas Holt to die, like not Nicholas Holt, but Lex Luthor to get offed at one point in the movie more than I wanted even Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor to get offed in BVS, John. Do you feel like we got the best Lex to date, or do you think like one of the previous iterations? I think you said Kevin Spacey
I think
might
Kevin
still be your favorite.
Spacey's probably my favorite. Again, I know he's an asshole and he's terrible, but I think his Lex was probably the best. I like Gene Hackman. I liked Nicholas Holt. I've liked what I've seen of Michael Rosenbaum. I like Jesse Eisenberg in like a so bad it's good kind of way. Like he's not like I mean like under the facade of his like stuttering fucking tism bullshit, it was clear there was clearly a menacing character under there. I just wish he like did that more and was less of the like I get why he did it, but I think he just went a little bit too much in that direction to the point where it's like now you don't see him as menacing. But I feel like this Lex, like he's like ranting and screaming a lot of the time. But
Mhm.
like when he can be menacing, he can mess and he's menacing in a way of like the actions we don't see and the implications that we don't see. Like, like when you think about certain things he does in the movie, it's like when you think about it, like, oh my god, that's like really fucked up. Like, holy shit. And not just the stuff you see, it's just like the stuff that's implied. So it's like, oh my god. So he can reach that point, but I feel like the more out of like in the out of pocket, insane Silver Age yelling kind of stuff is more earned here, but I get why people might not like the over the top craziness. I get that.
I will say
Um
though, he struck a balance where almost in the same scene, sometimes Lex Luthor would do something that felt very diabolically over the top comic booky, and then the next moment you were like, "Oh my god, this guy feels too real." Like, and it's like he was able to somehow switch between those two things, right? Like I said, because there was I'm not gonna be able to give you the context away, but there was a scene like when Superman is involved in a fight, and Lex Luthor is part of it as well. In what way I can't really tell you, but until the spoiler review on Friday. But yeah, they essentially show him being very comic book over the top with the dialogue and his emotions and his physical just a posture, and in the next sentence he's like feels like a villain from one of the John Wick movies, right? He's like, yeah, just, like, get it over with. And like, what, I'm not gonna say what he exactly says, but it's just, again, Lex Luthor, I think, balanced those two things really well, which is why, or I should say, Nicholas Hoult balanced those two things really well as Lex Luthor. So I really did enjoy his performance. Like, it somehow managed to put all of those pieces together, and I can imagine him playing this character for decades to come. And I think clearly casting Nicholas Hoult, that might be the intention. Um, yeah, stopping the train. That's a good point. I don't have. Did we ever see any footage of that? Because
no, it was just in the newspaper. Yeah, it was just in the
yeah,
newspaper
I
mentioning.
don't know. Yeah, that's probably just probably part of this promotion. Like in one of the promotional articles for the Daily Planet, apparently he's already fought Metallo in this world. So, which would make sense. This is a year through Superman, so he's probably fought a few people along the way, but we don't see any of that in the movie. Again, I will tell you that because you don't have any false expectations, but I think that was also marketing. Maybe they'll explore that thread down the road, but I wouldn't take that, at face value. And Enterprising is right. Less manic, more menace. Like, if there's scenes in this movie where Lex Luthor feels very much like a comic book villain, and then the next scene he's like probably like, oh my god, like he's one of literally the most menacing villains we have seen in a live action superhero movie ever. So I really did enjoy Nicholas Holt's performance quite a bit. They did show that, yeah, the duality of Lex Luthor and Clark Kent, and we do see that come to a head at one point. How exactly, again, we won't be able to talk about it till Friday. But yeah, I mean, Glimmercast, you're making some excellent comparisons there. They grew up in bubbles, lack self-awareness. They're very emotionally immature, although they're also very much self-aware of that. And underdeveloped. I don't know if that's necessarily, maybe emotionally, like they're a little, like they're arrogant, they're quick to jump to action. Lex does it because he can, and he feels like he's got the power and the right to do it. Superman more does it, because he's like, look, I'm not going to think twice about saving somebody. If somebody's in trouble, I don't care what laws or rules I break, right? But then Lois is there to like kind of remind him there are consequences to your actions, and we find that out because, again, like you're saying, not everything is black and white, and James Gunn goes a long way to talk about and not just him talking about, but show us how even in this comic booky world, yeah, not everything is black and white. Like, this Superman lives in a world that feels very real, not because it's, feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. It feels like a Saturday morning cartoon that's brought to life in a way that it's removed from our world, but at the same time we can relate to it. And that's what the best sci-fi is all about. And I think this Superman leans very heavily into its sci-fi elements. So again, and crypto being one of the best parts of that. I feel like the crypto movement of flying almost like he's swimming through the air was fantastic, John. And every scene he was in, especially that one part with the milk bone thing, dude, like it's so good. It's so freaking like again, I thought overall the movie has some problems, but certainly uh it has its highlights. And overall I had a good time. Um John, I know you've been kind of reevaluating your review since yesterday. Where
Mhm.
do you currently sit? Have you changed your rating maybe, or are
No,
you
I
kind of
haven't changed
sticking
my
with that?
rating. It just I'm curious about like how I'm kind of not really remembering the first half of it all, but I still remember like the Daily Planet bullpen scenes, the kaiju fight and all that, but I'm kind of like the smaller character scenes I'm not remembering as much, but I love the interview scene. I love the third act, pretty much all the third act. I love the pocket universe stuff. I liked the Justice Gang, and I loved how lived in the world felt. Crypto looked great for the most part. There was like maybe some wonky CGI here and there, but for the most part, like the fucking Superman robots look so good. It looks so good. Like
You couldn't
again,
tell when they were using one of the models, like the physically built ones, the animatronics, versus when
like
they
you
were
can
using
tell like
CGI.
when they're like carrying him and you don't
Yeah.
see Superman in the shot and it's just the shot of like four and it's like just him and you could tell that that's real. Like it's
Mhm.
really real. And I didn't mind the cinematography. I can see why like the some of the wonkier like shots might bother people. I think it added to the charm of it. I think it added to the tone, but I get why people wouldn't like it. I understand why people wouldn't like it. So that's like not a yeah.
Yeah. And there's some good CGI usage, and then there's some parts where I still think it's a little wonky. Like there's one particular flying sequence that was in one of the trailers where it's just very distorted, and it's because of the way they're using the IMAX cameras. So, and by the way, they're shooting this movie in with IMAX cameras that are not IMAX film cameras. So, not the same thing as what Christopher Nolan's using on the Odyssey, but still, for the most part, the cinematography is great. It's definitely made for the big screen. You can feel that. And dude saying, I like the execution of everything better here than in Man of Steel and Superman Returns. Robots looked amazing. I agree. Love that old fashioned style. The film was better than the marketing showed, in my opinion. I personally still think Man of Steel is the better movie because my big problem was it felt a little scatterbrained, the movie did. Like this movie kind of starts off really strong, right in the middle of the action, but then scatters all over the place in Act Two, which other people have, some of the other critics have said, even in some positive reviews, they pointed out there's a few problems here and there with the pacing. And then in the third act, it comes together well. But even then, some people have said like it kind of ends a little bit too fast. Like it's, like if you're looking for a huge climactic fight sequence, I feel like if you're trying to compare it to Man of Steel, this definitely doesn't have. I didn't feel the same level of impact, or even to some of the other really good superhero finales, like whether it's the Dark Knight Rises, the Dark Knight, even, and the Dark Knight's finale wasn't even a big fight sequence, other than the brief fight that Joker and Batman had with each other. But unlike Dark Knight Rises, which are a huge battle sequence in Gotham City, but yeah, it's that's my other thing. The finale is great, but then some of the emotional beats of those fight sequences in the third act didn't hit for me the way that I would expect it to. But does the movie have heart? Absolutely, it has heart. I think
Mhm.
it puts Superman's heart front and center. Front and center. I mean, dude, agreeing, true, definitely some choppy editing at times. John, you said as much. Editors cutting for the shorter runtime. I timed it at the cinema and it was exactly an hour 58 minutes, which I'm sure you mean that in the sense that it's without credits. Because with credits, I think it was like 2 hours 6 minutes or something. But the fact that it's an hour 58 without credits, I feel like John, you and I both agree 15 to 20 minutes more might have helped this
Yeah,
movie
I think that
breathe a
would have
little bit,
helped.
because it's kind of like you get tired of just watching like, oh my god, this happens and that happens, like, okay, breathe a little bit at times. So maybe that could have helped. But again, not the best movie that I think we have ever seen from DC. It's not the
It's not the
best
best movie
Superman movie
this
for
year. It's not the
me,
best DC movie. It's not the best
but it's up there.
but
it's
I
it's
would say it's up
definitely
I would
up
say
there.
it's top 10, maybe top
Yeah.
15.
top 10, I'd be willing to give it. Yeah, top 10. I mean, the top 10 for DC is dominated by Batman movies, like the entire Dark Knight trilogy.
Well, the thing is,
The Batman,
if we're including
you
like
know?
animated movies, I would still say it's top 10.
No,
Like
animated movies don't count. I'm sorry, but they don't count because 10% of the audiences who see these movies, unless it's a theatrically released one, which even then, like the Killing Joke only had a limited release. So, and I'm not saying putting down
count
animated
I count
movies.
all DC movies under.
I'm
I
just,
count like
yeah.
Road to Perdition, Red. I even count those. You know, TikTok, motherfucker. Anyway.
I think the hard 2 hours was to have more IMAX showtimes too. Yeah, I mean, well, yes, usually it has to do with showtimes. I know James Gunn will never admit to the idea of that, but maybe that had played a part in it. Although him being in charge of the studio, he can easily be like, I'm gonna put an extra 15 minutes, and the only person who can question him is David Zaslav. And even then, I'm sure James Gunn could convince David Zaslav to be like, okay, makes sense, better movie, much rather have that than have an extra showing a day, which if it's a worse movie, then fewer people come to see it, so it all kind of evens out in the end. But Caleb was like, don't remind me of that awful Killing Joke movie. Sorry, Caleb, I didn't know it was such a negative experience for you. But the last question they ask in this Rotten Tomatoes review roundup, like, will it leave us excited for more DCU movies? And that's where I think, again, the third act, some of his best moments were kind of about sort of indirectly setting up some future stuff, although there was very little of that throughout the movie, and it didn't detract from everything else in the film. Like, certainly it was no BBS where they, just rammed in the clips of future Justice League members for no reason before Wonder Woman, shows up. And so it wasn't anything like that. But I will say, we definitely have some really good stuff to look forward to, and some theories were confirmed along the way. There's at least 3 DC heroes, says Matt Singers, in Superman that are not named Superman that I can't wait to see again. For me, if I were to name 3, I would say Mr. Terrific. There's a really cool scene with him in the movie. I want to see more of Hawkgirl's backstory. I want to see more Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner. But I guess I can go even beyond that and say I want to see more of another character that I actually can't actually say out loud. So, but John, who is one character from this movie? It could be just the obvious choice, which a lot of people are saying Mr. Terrific, who you would like to see have their own project after seeing them in Superman.
I would love to see a Terrifics, Justice Gang kind of movie. Like, I would love to see, like, being like, no, we're named the Terrifics, fuck you, and then like they become the Terrifics. I think that would be funny. I
Yeah.
would love honestly, I want to see more. I would love to see a Jimmy Olsen led.
I was gonna say you forgot about Jimmy Olsen. The guy's
No,
got
I would love to see
game.
like Jimmy Olsen.
Oh my
like a
god.
special presentation, a mini series.
Yes.
I don't care. I would love to see
Totally.
that.
I
The
want
thing
to
is,
see
I
like
would honestly,
yes.
I would love to see like a prequel Lex movie, kind of in the vein of like Lex
Like,
Luthor.
how did he get to this point?
Yeah,
Because where we pick up in the movie, it's already like he already hates Superman and he's already working on like his plan to destroy Superman. Like, we don't pick up with like him planning things out. He's already very much in the middle of executing his plan. So I do wonder how he got there. Like, so that definitely would like to see that. I also would love to see something like that's focused entirely on the Daily Planet, because I do feel like Perry White, as well as Steve Lombard, actually, we got more of him than we got Perry White. Although the favorite line from any Daily Planet character that I had in this movie was, "Why don't I have a seat?" Like, it's like when he's getting into the T-sphere.
I want to see a Daily Planet bullpen movie. I think that would be
Yeah.
great. I agree with Frankie G. I would love to see a Hawkman get introduced in this movie, so that would be great. Like introduced in this world, I should say. But I like Hawkgirl. I liked Guy Gardner. I liked Mr. Terrific. All of them did a great job. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
that would be great.
I think at the end of the day, clearly, even for John and I, who gave slightly uneven reviews, like not entirely glowing, like we love the hell, we both had a good time, but perhaps I think this movie still has a few kinks to work out in terms of what the story that it told. I still feel like on second watch I might have a better experience with it, because There were other things going on at my movie theater, like for example, they played Jurassic World Rebirth for 5 minutes before they were like, "Oh no, it's the wrong movie," and then I had to wait for an hour and a half with Fiona, and we were like sitting there like with our Superman popcorn bucket and soda things, and like, are we gonna even get to see this thing? And they gave us free passes and stuff. And Regal actually reached out to me on Instagram saying, "Hey, we're so sorry for your experience," because I posted about it on my stories for the Also Curious account, and they were like, "Is there anything we can do to help, make it better?" And all they could come up with was, "We'll just credit you with a free small popcorn." Thank you, Regal. I think I'll pass. And I might even pass on showing up to a
it's
Regal in the
stupid,
future.
but hey, you're gonna get a free
But
popcorn.
the pass that the theater staff gave me is probably more valuable than a small freaking popcorn. Like, god damn. But anyway, I'm gonna go see it again, John. You're probably gonna go see it again.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't
seeing
wait
it
to
again on
see.
Friday.
Yeah, I can't wait to see, what our reactions are like after a second watch, because I'm sure there's elements in this movie, like, for example, one of you guys pointed out in the chat earlier at the start of the show, there was apparently a Justice Gang or like a metahuman mural somewhere in the film that we completely missed. So there's other stuff that we got to check out. Also, some of the emotional moments that I felt like were a little bit rushed. Maybe they were more earned than I thought they were, and we'll get to see it a second time and maybe get to decide whether we got the wrong impression the first time around, or maybe skipped over a few things. But until tomorrow, actually, hope you guys are going to see Superman. I know some of you guys, living abroad, might already be going to see the Superman movie in theaters before we wake up. But until then, we'll go to bed and we'll wake up in the morning and then plan out another fantastic show. Tomorrow, we really get the flood of reactions from everybody who hasn't seen the movie yet. And then, John, I'm sure that Rotten Tomatoes rating will fluctuate again, because that number of reviews will probably double, because there's a lot of critics who haven't seen the movie yet, but we'll do starting tomorrow. So until then, John, is going to be you and me tomorrow running the show, and then Friday we'll have Liz and Fiona back for the full spoiler discussion. Can't wait to talk about this in spoilery fashion. But guys, if you have been watching, thank you for watching live, and we really, really appreciate you. Hit that like button on the way out, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you're new, so that you guys can get more of our videos. The notification bell, when we go live. Thank you for another fantastic show. Thank you for joining in the chat and keeping us engaged and making the show better. And with that, guys, I will just quickly plug, we have a brand new video on the channel right now. It's an editorial, 5 ways that James Gunn is making Superman relatable. It's a fantastic video. It points out a lot of the good things that we talked about on the show today for the movie as well. Go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. And if you like it, we'll be doing more of them. So love to hear from you about that. Get in the comments, let us know. And until tomorrow, as Superman, as James Gunn, and as we would like to tell you, don't forget to look up.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you wanna shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I